Hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. Thank you for tuning in to PCC. I know that you guys are not used to seeing me at the beginning of these episodes, so please calm down. If you're crying, shaking, soiling yourselves, we have warned you about this. Brett is not here for today and tomorrow's episodes. There are many theories as to where Brett is. I think that he might be in Ukraine interviewing Zelensky. There were other theories that, you know, possibly he is getting a leg lengthening surgery to glow up and looks max right now. Whatever he's doing, we wish him luck with it, and he will be back soon. But the show goes on nonetheless, and fortunately, Kellen is sitting across from me, taking over producing duties. How are you, Kellen?
That's right. I know we've done this a few times, but every time that Brett's out, you know, doing what Brett does, Mary also just by chance has had things come up. So she's, you know, leading the way today.
Yeah.
But I am here. I'm going to be pressing the buttons like I'm used to.
I really feel like I'm breaking a glass ceiling right now because someone in the chat pointed out, Brett said a woman will never host PCC as long as he has anything to say about it. But I am here to break that glass ceiling. I'm a trailblazer. Really. I'm a feminist icon. We have a $20 super chat real quick from High Vulture 75. It actually happened. Mary has beaten Brett to death and taken over the show. First PCC, then Timcast, then the world. It's going to be a Ghost Girl Summer. I like that. Ghost Girl Summer. That has a ring to it. But I definitely didn't do any of that. I'm not a violent person. Brett is just, he's taking time for himself right now. He's having a Brett boy summer.
See, he told me that he was actually trying to invent a new color, which I didn't think that was possible. But, you know.
Oh.
I was under the impression that he transitioned to roller skates and it went horribly wrong.
So anyway, Aidan is here to help me out, guest hosting the show on these couple of days. Thank you for being here, Aidan.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just kind of a frequent flyer here at this point.
Yeah, we appreciate it, though.
I like it. It's fun. Also, getting to talk to Shane last night for Inverted World Live, like that show is going to be something big. That's going to be a lot of fun.
For sure. Yeah. There were plenty of tech issues, which is why we kicked Shane out of the studio today. Unfortunately, we weren't trying to clickbait you, but Shane is in this thumbnail. He is not in the studio right now. But yeah, you went on Inverted Worlds and you talked about a lot. I watched most of it.
It's kind of fun. It's like a Coast to Coast AM vibe at the end. Like that was fun.
Yeah, it's definitely your bag. It's definitely Shane's bag. We were hoping to have him in the studio, but maybe he's joining Brett for that Zelensky interview or whatever they're doing. Ian is in Shane's place today.
Hi.
Hello, Ian.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
You feeling the sunglasses?
I'm feeling them so hard right now, yeah.
I like it.
It's very
You
Ringo.
look good.
Yeah, I wanted lighter ones, but these are the only ones I could find. They're dark.
I've got some, you want to try these on?
Yeah.
They're a little bit lighter.
Oh, we're swapping sunglasses right now.
I drove west to get here in the afternoon and forgot my sunglasses at home. That was not a fun time.
That sucks.
I mean,
Okay,
you look
I
just
like
as
the
good.
circular ones better
Yeah,
on
put
you,
the
actually.
circular
Those feel more party.
I have to be honest.
These feel more
Rockstar.
Rockstar, yeah.
They work with the
Rockstar.
blazer.
Thanks, Kellen.
The hair is looking good today.
This
Thank you,
is
Mary.
you too. That's LMFAO.
Okay, I'll take the
LMFAO.
YouTube vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't say that.
Remember them?
It's my first
Yeah, I
concert,
remember
actually.
them. I'm
First
sorry for
concert.
party rocking, okay? We're going to do a lot of party rocking
hell
today. This is going to be a different episode. We are not going to be covering what we normally cover on the show today. We're going to get back to normally scheduled programming tomorrow. But today I just wanted to do a conspiracy special. That was the original plan. Back when Ian Carroll was on and Shane was on that day, I was supposed to be there to do the conspiracy special with them, but the Megyn Kelly appearance came up and that was not possible. So today I finally get to realize my dream. I'm taking over PCC. I feel like I'm in my dictator era. This is like helping me envision the future when I run the world. This is world domination, Mary.
Yes.
So I guess without further ado, we should just jump into it. But the first thing I wanted to show you guys is this edit that Shane H. Wilder made over the weekend. The PCC files.
It goes hard.
PCC X files.
Now, do we know if this is, should I play the music here, or do you just want to
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, if we get copyrighted,
If you get
it
copyrighted,
happens.
you can always appeal it and say it's background music, and it should work. That's what
Okay.
I've done every single time.
Okay.
That's my man's.
Oh.
Yeah, this is this is a very special
Imagine actually
video.
waking up to that with Brittany.
It's special. It's unique, that's for sure. Oh. I'm a Fed?
Agent Morgan.
Fed confirmed?
Yeah. What does Jojo Siwa have to do with this?
She's a demon.
Oh, okay.
She's an actual demon. And Kellen.
I'm honored.
Just Kellen.
I'm honored.
Just Kellen.
That's like Cher. That's all you need.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
hardcore.
love that.
Very nice.
Love
We
that.
have another 20 from Fresh Meat 999. Praise be to this show for such nourishing and nutritious show that is mentally yummy. Love ya, bread. Hey, Mary. Please get based in reality, Ian, and hi, cuck Kellen.
Listen, that's done. We're not doing that anymore. I
We're not calling
graduated.
Kellen the cuck because he's not in the cuck chair.
I love you,
But
fresh meat.
why am I bread?
No, Brett is Brett.
Oh, okay.
And he hates when people use the words nutritious, nourishing, and yummy.
okay.
Yeah,
So they
nutritious.
decided to have all
So I'm
of their
just not
fun
here.
today.
I'm just not here. All right.
Yeah, there's no love for Aidan in the chat. What's going on?
Well, to be fair, they didn't mention Shane, did they? No. So.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
But Shane, it works for the paranormal episode that
Yeah.
he's here in spirit.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of which,
He's not actually dead, to be clear.
I saw a report that the UK is running out of ghosts as old spirits are dying off, according to a paranormal expert, whatever that means. So the birth rates are declining, and the ghost rates are also declining. There is an official ghost shortage. Aging spirits are passing over to the other side. Dr. Paul Lee believes that the UK's spectral heritage is in serious decline as many ghosts have become dormant or moved on. He shared, since January 2020, I've been contacting all the reportedly haunted locations, asking if the residents, owners, or staff have experienced any unexplained activity. So far, I've had almost 800 replies and even some supposedly highly haunted places like Conisbrough Castle in South Yorkshire, the Editing Park Hotel in Stratford, said to be one of the most haunted hotels in the UK, and Fortnum and Mason in Piccadilly, I don't know if I said any of that right, it's all
think
British
you did.
speak, say they haven't experienced anything in the last few years. So
Even-
was it COVID?
Even the ghosts don't want to live in England.
Do you think that maybe COVID lockdowns scared away
Could
the
be.
ghosts?
Could be 5G.
The 5G
Yeah, the
towers
5G
are
towers are getting rid of the ghosts.
repelling them.
When I first heard the story, you know how we're going through like a Zyn shortage in America? I thought they were going through like a shortage of the ghost
Not if I
energy
have
drinks.
anything
Yeah.
to say about
Yeah,
it
there you go.
today.
What are ghosts like?
Not today, Satan.
The have you seen the phantom DNA experiment?
No.
Where they'll bombard matter like DNA with photons in a vacuum.
Is this your segue into microchimerism?
No, but I
I
love
thought
to
we weren't
talk about
talking about microchimerism, Mary.
microchimerism when you take on other people's cells through having sex with them or through giving birth to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about yet. So this phantom DNA, you bombard DNA with photons in a vacuum, and then you
Okay.
remove the DNA, and the photons stay there spinning around as if the DNA is still present for like weeks.
That's cool.
And that might be what ghosts are. Is this photons that like think the matter is still present after the matter is gone, and that's like our spiritual memory. But what would cause those to dissipate? Like, is it literally 5G? Is it like too much electricity just
I think
sucking those
they-
photons?
Well,
People
all right.
just became cringe and they didn't want to haunt people anymore.
That's
like,
also definitely possible. People have become considerably more cringe in the last few years.
Like they're too
Yeah.
they're immune
Well,
to.
We got another
Well, I wanna-
20
oh,
before
okay.
you weigh in. That Stanzatastic said, chat summary auto-generated experiment. Quality may vary. People are commenting on Ian's appearance and discussing what he's been up to recently,
Oh,
including
interesting.
Oh.
a recent interview with Zelensky and his association with Shane Dawson.
I know what he's talking
I know
about. Do
Shane.
you guys know
What
this
is going on? What is that?
YouTube launches this AI thing. So instead of having to read chat, it'll give you a summary of what people are talking about in chat. So that's the summary of the beginning of this show.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting. See,
I
that's a
haven't
cool
used it
use of
yet.
AI.
but no one's associating with Shane Dawson on this show. That's
I will say Apple's
yet.
gonna, not to get too into the
Sorry.
AI weeds, but Apple's going to do it so you can like have it summarize phone calls. So if you're on the phone, like
That's
let's say it's
scary.
like a meeting or something, you have to call in, and it's like a 2-hour meeting. It'll summarize what everyone talked about. So you can just like mute and walk away
I
and then
hate
read
that.
the summary later.
Dude,
you
that's
shouldn't do that. You should
literally-
be active on the phone calls.
Literally
but
what secretaries are for.
I
Yeah.
had
Right.
Their job.
one chat summary was that they were talking about Ian Crossland, who recently passed away, because a lot of people, it was like an IRL
Interesting.
chat over the last 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, he was
No.
gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Ian, R.I.P. Ian, and I think the ad
Unless
took it
you're a
literally.
ghost and we just don't know yet.
little bit of
But
both.
what was your?
I wanted to say I am
take?
going to do something rather unexpected and wholeheartedly agree with Ian.
Oh.
Yeah, what you just said is exactly where my mind goes to with ghosts. The whole like that it's sort of a shadow of a person's existence that because of some sort of traumatic event or that they something horrible happened, or maybe go more into the like selling their soul kind of deal, but like that their presence remains even if their physical form is gone.
So is it the energy remains, or is it the void that you see? You know how like you don't see a black hole, but you see how black hole it manipulates everything around it, and that's how we're able to observe it. Is that what's going on here, where you saw the energy of the person and where it did leave an imprint on the world, or is it the energy still there? Is it the
That's a
lack?
good point. Like, are the photons creating a sort of portal that around a piece of matter that's no longer there? That's the
Right.
ghost itself, this vacuum, or is it the photons themselves, or is it a combination of the two?
Yeah.
You'd think they'd eventually dissipate for some reason, and I think
This
about it, like
is-
we don't have a ton of like ancient Roman ghosts that we talk about. We have a lot of like 17th and 18th century ghosts that we talk about.
That's true.
I think,
a very good
this
point.
is just like my Catholic take. I think it's just souls who want prayers who are in purgatory.
So you think it's a purgatory thing?
But then like,
Yeah.
But if you had to like,
Or demons. It's either one or the
but
other.
what is a soul? Like, there's the Catholic version, but if a scientist who never grew up with religion, how is he gonna like? How would he describe a soul?
Well,
I think
souls
that's what they're
aren't
talking about.
measurable. I thought that was kind of
But
the
how?
point.
But if you play with this thought experiment, guy never grows up religion. He views the whole world in science. How would he describe what a soul is? That phenomenon.
I guess it's like every molecule of water in the ocean is like a soul, but you look at it, it's like, how do I extract a soul out of that? It's impossible, but it's in there. It's making up the whole, like this microfractive background radiation or whatever the hell we're like immersed in this radiative bath that it could be like partly like that.
It's like the dust cloud. That's how you see. They say that's how you see electrons. You can't really pinpoint to it, but like when a car drives on a dirt road, and you see the dust cloud behind it.
Yep.
That's how they kind of say that's electrons, right? That's a good way to, not express, but demonstrate what the electron cloud around matter and everything.
right,
like
because
that.
it is energy.
Right.
You, as a person, there is energy within you that is being transferred in and out of the world around you at all times. But I also don't totally hate what you said either. The idea that like ghosts are souls that are in purgatory, and what better to be your time, waiting to absolve your sins.
Yeah, I
and
wasn't
to fix
sure
your
if
problems
you
than to
believed in the existence of purgatory.
I don't even consider myself to be Protestant, Catholic, or Orthodox at this point. I'm just a Christian.
Is purgatory a place on this earth though? Because I didn't
No.
think it was.
No,
That
it's
doesn't
not.
really.
So that's the question: is when
explain
you
that to me.
when you
know?
talk about heaven, earth, purgatory, hell, what are these? Are these separate dimensions?
The
Are
in-between
these
or
entirely
something?
separate realms? When you die, do you go somewhere else? Like
Right.
Or are you in a different version of here?
It could be a pattern of momentum. Like if you're moving at the speed of light, if your soul is moving at the speed of light, where you are is really the shape that you're moving. So if you're moving around the earth in a torus, you might be in purgatory. But if you're moving around the earth in a corkscrew, you might be in heaven. Like it might display different feelings or perceptions depending on how you're transversing. Because time and space are the same thing. It's just time is just a human way of explaining momentum, moving, spinning around. So we're like, that's one increment of this thing, but it's really just moving.
I'm genuinely trying to follow you, but it's just going totally over my head.
Like if you're moving at the speed of light, there's no time. Time isn't real. You just move around. It's just like where you are.
Okay.
You're experiencing time at a different rate than everybody else.
Yeah.
I think-
Okay, I got that part.
think
You ever
Harvard-
like be
Yeah.
really invested in something and time takes forever and
Okay. That
So
Yeah.
So if you're moving at a certain pattern where you look out the window and you're like, wow, it looks like purgatory, because every time I turn left, I see the top of the mountain, then we twist like this and I see the bottom of the mountain. So this image of the outside of what I start to see around me is this realm because of the way I'm seeing it. But if you're looking at it in a different with a different perspective, you're going to be like, well, this is this realm. Even though it's the same place from a different perspective. And that could be like what your soul is perceiving, since it's just moving in different patterns. Like some souls seem to be attracted to the sun. They say, like, I'm going towards a bright light. I think that's the sun. Some souls go out into deep space. And they say that's hell, like that's the absence
People
of
who
light,
have like
the absence
near-death
of warmth.
experiences, they said it's just darkness. I've heard reports of that where they've been dead for like medically dead for what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and they come back to life. They get resuscitated, and they're like, it's just there's nothingness. It's blackness, and that could be the nothingness of space, like you're saying.
The idea of being conscious inside the blackness is more horrifying than
But they're saying they're
hellfire.
not conscious. They're saying there's just nothing there. They can't give you what it was like because there is nothing.
Okay.
It's like little bit of a dark thing, but in my opinion, that's the biblical hell. If you read through the Old Testament, if you read through the Old Testament, when they describe like the afterlife for not good people, they don't talk about the afterlife much, but when you get it, it's just a black pit.
Which is basically the end result of self-love.
So it's,
I read something interesting recently where they said, like, why do ghosts pass through walls? And they say, well, modern architecture is very different than the architecture you just brought up in like 1700s, 1800s, and where they're really just retracing their steps. Yeah. So if energy somehow has like a muscle memory to it, right? If energy has like a way that it will always behave after a certain length of time, that could explain why you see ghosts appear out of nowhere, walk through walls, rise up from the ground, because that's the pattern that that person was actually taking when they were alive, and they trained that energy to behave that way. So when the conscious being was no longer there, but the energy still remains, it's going to continue to go on that track.
Guys, we just reached the first crisis party, which should be going off soon.
Sweet.
It's on a timer, so it might not happen immediately. But I just wanted to make sure I pointed out, we're reading all of the super chats, $20 and over, right then and there in the middle of the discussion. So that's as always. And if you have not liked the video, what is wrong with you? You need to change that right now, and you should subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I just wanted to make sure I reminded you all of those things before we moved on. So the next thing I wanted to bring up was a possible demonic possession / schizophrenic break. A disturbed Indiana man broke into his Chick-fil-A coworker's house in the middle of the night to perform an exorcism on her. Is this like some weird like flirting tactic that he was like trying to make the first move?
I want to get to know you.
Basically, he crashed through her window instead of going to the front door, and then was covered in broken glass and blood. So I'm sure he looked really inviting and
I wonder
normal.
if she thought she was like living. Like, did you think she knew she woke up, or she's like, "Oh, this is the worst nightmare I've ever had. Like, this is strange."
You weren't possessed before.
I don't know. She actually knew this guy for 20 years, and they had been coworkers for a long time. So she must know this guy very well at this point.
To be fair, it does say he drives a Prius, which could be an indicator of insanity.
Yes, he left his Prius out front. Thank you, guys.
It gets me every time.
Dance break.
I do think it's a little funny to say he left his Prius out front.
Yes.
But dude, if you're gonna, sneak up on someone, the Prius is the way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is silent.
He chose a stealth vehicle here, but also the fact that it's still running because that's what charges the battery.
Robert was covered in blood when police yelled for him to come outside of the house. His Prius was still running in the driveway. He told police he was bleeding because he had just bust through a window in order to perform an exorcism. And while being taken into custody, he repeatedly said that she hasn't been stabbed and she's possessed. He also urged the police to find a CD inside the house and play track number 3 to save her.
I gotta know what that song was.
Oh, I think I might know.
I need to know. It left off on a cliffhanger. It didn't say.
I might know what this is.
What?
There's this argument that the reason that we listen to music at a certain frequency, like the reason that music is played at a certain frequency, is because they're trying to like distort your perception of reality and open you up to demonic possession and everything. So that could be what the not listening to Spotify thing is.
I thought that was just a satanic panic
it's total
thing
BS.
about.
It's total BS.
Ian and I have discussed this. It was a while ago, but we've discussed the frequency of music and
Frequencies
the vibrations of music and how it might play.
Yeah, they can mess with you a little bit, but they're not like.
I mean, I think
there's
the
not a grand
lyrics
conspiracy
affect
to
you.
open you up to demonic possession through music.
There's
like
members of Timcast that refuse to use music because they think it's manipulative.
Who?
Mind control. I don't want to out.
Hey, I don't.
What do you
I wouldn't out those
Use
people.
music like a drug. The way you said that.
To use
Yeah.
music.
That's how they describe it.
Guys,
That's how
I'm
this
going
person
to do
describes
music
it.
tonight. I'm
Wow.
going to do so much
I'm
music.
gonna get so high on music
I
later.
fully believe the lyrics in music affect you. But I don't know if I believe that a certain frequency of sound
But
can
it's 432.
open you up to
Yeah, 432 is the
demonic
432.
possession or whatever.
They said that they changed the key of A, I think from 432 to 440, like subconsciously, like some authority at some point was like, now
the
we're just
Mandela
gonna,
effect, the Large Hadron Collider.
I don't know, no, before all those.
I'd be very willing to bet that there is a distinct reason for that is totally utilitarian that you can find if you look for it. And
That's
it's-
your entire.
yeah, that's what I do. But that's
You're
what
like, everything is actually boring.
not everything.
No,
Every once in
okay.
a while, something's not boring.
Okay, we got a 20
I
from
live
Shane
for
H.
those times.
Wilder. He said, Purgatory is not a place, it is a state of purification. There is a case of the soul of a woman who had not been born yet asking for prayers in a cathedral. Since souls have no corporeal form, they're outside time. Okay, but that doesn't make sense to me because I thought that it was denounced as a heresy to believe that we have pre-existence. At least for Catholics, that is not a valid belief. But do you mean like a baby in utero?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I haven't ever heard about that story before, but that's interesting.
I mean, I think it's fair to acknowledge too that we're talking about something that I don't know if humans can ever understand fully, but we try our best to put it into words and ideas. Like when I've heard of purgatory, it's like you're on an airplane that's waiting to take off, but you're just sitting there and you can't get off the plane and it's not going to take off, and that's purgatory, right? So it's like we really give it our best shot to try to like humanize something that might not be human, right?
Well, I liked
Purgatory,
the
hell, etc.
Dante's take on it the most.
What was that take?
I mean, it's obviously not based on any actual, like, there's no biblical evidence or like church doctrine about, like, you need to believe that Dante's accounts of hell, purgatory, and heaven are like authoritative in any way. I just thought he has beautiful prose.
Yeah.
And like he's obviously, that's the most famous depiction of it. I always thought like there should be movies, like, not like there should be really professionally made movies.
What if the next Fast
from
and
the
Furious,
trilogy.
they break through the veil and they get to purgatory, and that's where the next big heist is, or the next big
They
race?
like dig in and they're already on
Is
like
that gonna be the next
layer
Knives
5
Out?
and they're like, fuck, how did we get in here?
Anyway, this says that Robert Nelker had sent his coworker bizarre text messages warning her not to listen to Spotify.
Okay.
Anything
Which,
specific, or just
again,
Spotify?
No, just he said warning her about not
Yeah.
listening to Spotify. And then
That's where the Hertz thing came from. That's
police,
what I was reading.
Yeah, police went inside the house. They went in, found the shattered window, and they went to the kitchen island and found a blood-covered CD and its case. And he had destroyed the home entertainment and stereo system inside. He was writing something in blood on a projector screen, but only finished the word R.
I've heard of like people that can't be around electronics in general. I don't know if it's like a mental health thing or an
Yeah.
actual physical
Definitely
thing.
triggers
in-
like schizophrenic
What is
breakdowns.
it? It's Breaking Bad, I think it is. No, Better Call Saul.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Better Call Saul. One of the, I think his like uncle or whatever has that.
It's his brother.
Yeah, and he can't handle it. Like he thinks
No
that,
lights,
Yeah,
nothing.
Was it
it's
the
a
word-
psychosis.
Is it the word hour or R that was
No,
scrolling?
R, like literally just R. the
A-R-E?
letter.
Oh, the letter R.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what he was planning
idea.
to write, but he didn't make it through.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how you could end this article without telling us what the third track was.
Yeah, I wonder if it wasn't a known. Maybe it was just him.
It was just like
it may have been
a
him.
Britney Spears song.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is it was probably
Toxic.
him doing an exorcism. Like it was probably the exorcism.
Huh.
Like
So did he trap the demon on track 3 or something? Like
no,
maybe
he said he wanted them to play track 3.
He's
That
like,
would
"Please."
save her.
to save
Right,
her.
right.
That's why my thinking
Okay.
is like maybe he brought it along in
Oh.
case something happened to him, so that he could just
Interesting.
I see.
turn it on.
Back up.
The power of chicken compels you. One of the comments.
You've seen like the crystal girls that'll get the like crystal or like glass. I don't know what to call them. They're instruments though. Then they take like
Those crystal bowls.
Kellen,
Yeah.
just a heads,
Yeah.
just a
Oh,
heads
yeah.
up.
Did you
Chat
see
saying that you're very
video?
quiet.
Those are great.
very quiet.
If you've ever had those done to you, I highly recommend it. Get a bunch of crystal bowls. They set them all around your body, and then they
No,
might even put them on top
I saw
of you.
like a video of a girl playing with those bowls on X, and she captioned it, "Can you believe I used to be
Yes,
addicted
that's
to
what
coke?"
made me think of it,
And
yeah.
everyone was like, "Yes, we can."
Yeah, it's super stimulating.
Yeah. So was it? Is there something in that frequency or vibrations of that sound that's like somehow connects to this story where whatever was on track 3 was some kind of specific sound?
I think he's
That's
just
what I'm thinking.
crazy.
I think it was something like either he recorded an exorcism, like the proper ritual for it, or he had like 432 hertz on it. The fact of the matter is, before 1940, there was no standard. You had 432 in Italy, or sorry, 440 was in Italy. I think 435 was in France. 432, I believe, was the most commonly used. And I think in America, it changed to 440 in 1940. And because America is kind of the center of the entertainment industry, that's what everybody else started using. And I will say, there's music you can find today. Father of Mine by Everclear is a semitone down from standard tuning.
Interesting.
So I think it might be 432.
Wow.
Well, I think
Wait,
this
I got
could
a
be-
20 from Shane H. Wilder to read real quick. He said, "No, it wasn't pre-existence. She was an older woman in purgatory. Since the souls are outside of time, she went to the past to ask for help. And yes, pre-existence is a heresy. Also, exorcism by laity is a huge no-no as well." I'm sure that the Chick-fil-A worker was not aware of that. But I've never heard of that possibility, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because they're outside of time. That could explain
like
a lot of ghostly activity.
Like Interstellar, you know how they use gravity and like that's how the aliens communicate and they're outside of time, right? And so it's like, what if purgatory's in the 4th or 5th dimension? So we can't comprehend it as 3-dimensional
I
beings.
think this tracks with what he said. Because you were saying electrons and photons, and that's what it is. If they're moving at the speed of light, then as far as they're concerned, time isn't passing.
Yeah,
normally.
It's just about
Like-
what shape are things right now, and it could be the shape of purgatory because of the way you're moving. I like this when your soul dies. I don't know if you guys ever experienced like love and like how sometimes you'll fight it and be like, and that's like when the soul tries to fight love, it goes to hell. It like pushes itself away from the sun or the galactic core, whatever.
Dude,
I always
the
thought that,
outfit right now is just elevating that
But
entire
makes-
thing you just said.
That makes me think you think that it's a binary. So if you're pushing yourself away from love, that you only have one direction to go.
You go towards hell, which is deep
Right.
space. The
Well, there's
cold
only
emptiness.
in the Christian worldview, there's only love
And
there-
lack of love.
not love. So that yes, like there's only one direction to go. But like I always thought a living hell is like when you're in an argument with someone and you say something really biting and evil and cruel to them, and you know that you're doing it, and you kind of like hate that you're doing it, but you do it anyway. But you're just like that for the rest of eternity.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like, so is it like guilt?
Like you're in that moment, but not guilt because you're doing it.
But do you feel bad about it? Because like
You hate them, but like almost as much as you hate yourself for
like,
saying that
the
to
idea
them.
would be the guilt that you feel for saying something so evil. Because if you acknowledge that it's hurtful and mean and evil, but you say it anyway, there's a level of like you have a conscience, right? You feel guilty of it, and I think that feeling is hellish, right?
But you're, like,
so if you're
resisting-
perpetually having that feeling, like that seems more like hell. But if you like you're just describing someone that's evil, I feel like.
Yeah.
No, I
But
mean
that would
I've
send you to hell.
definitely done
Sure,
that.
sure.
Have
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
done that?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everyone's done that.
Well,
You choose to be mean, yeah.
And then the resounding consequences
but
were
it's like
you don't see it till like a year later when it's their
Sure.
they imparted that hate and anguish onto their child, and you see their child and you're not in that hateful mood anymore, but you're like, oh, what have I done? And that kind of hell of like, wow, I can't go back and change the past, and I've created like a monster with my past behavior. That kind of hell's
Aiden, I wanted
wicked.
to ask you, have you listened to the recordings of Annalise Michelle?
The exorcism?
Yeah.
I
have not,
I've listened
but I
to a
was
little bit
wondering
of
if
it.
you had
A little
before.
bit of it, not the full thing.
Because I just don't feel like I don't want to listen to it. But it's
see, that's why I'm here. It is my job to listen to the horrifying, terrible stuff so that
Yeah.
you don't have to.
because I mean it's wild to me that it's a genuine case of demonic possession and that they would allow themselves to be recorded like that when that doesn't happen. You know,
I don't know.
You think it's fake? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's fake. I don't know, obviously, but
Like a
it's-
psychosis.
I'm willing to believe that it was a genuine demonic possession, but it was just puzzling to me that the demons would have allowed themselves to be recorded like that knowingly. I mean,
So-
of course they knew that they were being
I guess my
recorded.
question would be, how would they avoid it?
Yeah.
Like, they would avoid it if they thought the consequence would be increase of faith. If people listen to it and
But can they predict the future? Because you got to have.
no, they can't. But they're very, very smart, and they would be very much aware if someone were recording them.
No, sure, but
like-
do they know that recording, like, they think like, oh, I'm going to have more exposure and I'm going to scare more people.
Like, I feel like if
maybe
they
it didn't
allowed
work out that
themselves to
way.
be recorded, they must have thought something evil would come out of it, not good. And that's probably true, given that they made a movie out of it in Hollywood.
Well, I always think about
Right?
like the one person who, or this, I think there's multiple accounts of people that are possessed and then they start speaking a language they don't know. I think that's something that's kind of crazy, because even if the person, like, some people are like, oh, demonic possession's just psychosis, it's not real, it's how we kind of like explain it. But I'm like, then you can't teach someone a language they don't know. So even if it is
Or
psychosis,
superhuman
how does
strength,
that,
or
Right.
knowledge that they're not supposed to have. There are plenty of these signs that are not, you cannot chalk them up to psychosis or,
Right.
you know, someone doing their research. And like, the process of a Catholic exorcism is ruling out all of those things.
And I know the Vatican has a vast library of all these accounts, but I think of like the Library of Alexandria, and it's like, or just other past, like how ancient humans are, and it's how ancient civilization is. It's how much do we not know, where they've been documenting this all along, and the Catholic Church has just done the best at preserving it. You
That-
know?
And they're not going to
Yeah.
use it for commercial purposes.
That's true. Yeah.
The problem is they also won't give anybody else access to it.
Right, but it's, you know, it would be kind of sleazy if they did.
Like, at least give the orthodoxy some. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
Are there like specific ways you can call specific demons? Like, you look at someone's behavior, like, oh, that's that demon, and it's well
Well,
it
documented.
depends who you ask.
I think that the exorcist can go about it in a way that they can demand the demon identify itself and its name and what it was created for. Like,
So, just really quickly, because you said created, I'm curious, what was your demonology in when you were, you know, growing up and learning about it?
well, what do you mean? Like
What
was
are
the
demons
context?
functionally?
Oh,
What is the substance?
disembodied intellect. They were obviously created before human beings. Much more numerous than the amount of human beings that have or ever will exist.
Okay, so that's different from what mine was. Interesting.
What did you learn? I mean, they're fallen angels.
Yeah,
I mean,
mine's the Enochian point of view, that that demons as we know them are the souls of the Nephilim that died in the flood.
Okay, I definitely was not taught that, and I
That one's not taught as often. That's more of a like that's one of the more out there like scholarly
Yeah.
opinions on it. It's not the mainstream.
You've learned more about
Yeah.
this
No, I was just
than
curious,
me, but
'cause
like
I'm-
I've only had the context of Catholic high school education, which was really good, and like some Catholic college education and my own research. But
Yeah, I'm not trying to say you're wrong. I'm just
That's
curious, like
literally
what
it.
did you grow up with? What did you learn versus what
Yeah.
maybe somebody who grew up. I grew up Baptist,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So I'm just curious. You know, I'm always interested when other Christians, because the sects all have, you know, it's 99% of things we're with each other on, and then that 1% is always weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably not the case where the Anunnaki were like, we're going to take some genetic therapy, we're going to become superhumans with CRISPR tech, but it's going to demonize our souls after death. It's worth it. Let's
okay,
do it.
I just you're saying the Nephilim are the children of a demon and a human woman, right?
I take the perspective that Genesis 6:1-4 is referring to a group of angels coming down to Earth and cohabiting with human women.
Okay, but that doesn't make sense to me because I've always learned that angels are not embodied. Therefore, it would be impossible for them to reproduce with human beings.
So-
That doesn't make sense to me.
So Jacob wrestles with, it's unclear if this is God himself or if this is one of God's angels. Jacob wrestles with an angel or God, one of the two.
I thought that was God.
It's the angel of the Lord, I believe, is the specific terminology. So that's the problem, though, is you have
That's under God's permission for them to take the appearance and properties of a physical being.
So that's the question: Do angels have free will? That's where the fundamental difference is, I think.
Well, they do, but they pretty much only use it once.
Exactly. So if angels have free will, then angels have the ability to defy God, which means that they could take corporeal form, come down to
We're
Earth.
literally that meme that's like two dumb bitches being like, exactly. Okay, I just want to switch
Yeah,
gears real quick so we don't go too deep into
You're all
that
good.
rabbit hole. But there was something that you guys briefly covered on Inverted World yesterday, and I feel like you didn't get enough time to talk about it. Adrian Norman reported on this on Scanner News. New Harvard study says aliens may be walking among us. Non-human entities could be on Earth, quote, disguised convincingly as regular humans. So they're literally, what? They're talking about Mitch McConnell in a skin suit?
Well, the
What?
last time when Shane was here and Ian Carroll, I asked them the question, and this sparked a pretty lengthy conversation. I said, "Are demons aliens? Right? Are we talking about the same thing here? When you talk about the ancient Egyptians and you talk about like ancient astronaut theory, like are the aliens that came down and gave them technology just like angels?"
Well, so interestingly enough, again, I want to be clear. I do not take Enoch to be an accurate account of what the original Enoch narrative was. I'm not saying Enoch should be considered scripture. There's some stuff in it that definitely contradicts. But that is exactly what happens in Enoch.
What is Enoch?
It is an apocryphal intertestamental period text. It's actually 3 books, but first Enoch is typically referred to as the Book of Enoch, and they purport to have been written by Enoch the patriarch, the one who is brought up to heaven, who one of the only men in history to not die.
And what are we talking about? Like what
This would have
civilization
been
produced these writings?
So the Enoch himself would have been pre-Mosaic, pre-Israelite even. He would have been like the line of Adam.
Okay, so real old.
Really old.
Okay.
You know, we're talking pre-flood, all that. As for when the story itself is the oldest version of we have written down, which is certainly a written copy of an oral tradition that goes back a long time. But the current copy we have is from I think the earliest are the 300s, the late 300s, and the most recent are, I think, the 1st century AD.
Okay.
The copies. Sure. But it definitely goes older than that. We have a lot of fragments in the original Hebrew, some in Greek. The only full copy we have is in Ethiopic.
Interesting.
And it's a copy of the Greek, which is a copy of the Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm wondering about these angels, these demons, if it's like interdimensional sentience, whatever you were calling this, like, I saw these things when I smoked DMT. There was like these entities. There were 3 of them. One was feminine, 2 masculine energies. They were like energy fields with personality. If these fucking things take over people's bodies, I'm going to be so pissed because they don't give you that. And I just asked him, do you invade and take people over? And he was like, no. Like, obviously lying to me. So they call them trickster demons, these things. So they're chilling. If they get inside people and try and like role play as the person and take over their body, they have some influence over their behavior.
Okay,
That's
but
fucking nuts.
I don't think demons possess people with the intention of fooling everyone and being so convincingly like that person and no one will notice, because I thought the whole thing was the spectacle, the fear,
well, like Ian's saying, like if they're tricksters, right? They might not be interested in a grand plan. They might be interested in entertaining themselves because they think doing what you described is funny.
It's like getting
fun for them.
a quick fix. Like if you want to experience the human experience, you got to become a human. You got to walk the walk. You can't just hop in for a couple minutes and get to know what it feels like to be me and then pop out and screw with that shit. You got to do the work, bro.
The long con to get someone into hell is just getting them to put themselves there. I thought the possession was kind of the last resort kind of thing. If they've invited you to do it, they're gonna do it.
I think that's like
and
that's
it's
the
very
easiest
legalistic.
version.
You have to give them like the legalistic terms that allow them to do it very specifically, and it's like intended to cause spectacle. It's intended to cause fear and distraction. It's not so they can trick everybody.
A demon's favorite circumstance is going to be finding a willing human partner who is not doesn't need to be possessed, who will just go along with it. That like if demonology would suggest that.
And you can invite them into you for temporary periods of time, and then they bounce out.
I think that's the idea.
There's no guarantee that they'll bounce out.
But like if we look at the biblical accounts of like what leads to an exorcism, for example, Mark 5:1 through I think this is basically the whole book. It's the Gerasene demoniac. It said that he had been bound with shackles and chains had been torn apart by him and shackles broken in pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue him. Constantly, night and day, he was screaming among the tombs and in the mountains and gashing himself with stones. Seeing Jesus from a distance, he ran up and bowed down before him. And I think that's the most important line in this chapter, is that this man who is possessed by a demon has the wherewithal, seeing Jesus Christ, to run up to him and say, hey, please help me. You know, so demonic possession it seems like you can break through.
They go in and out.
Yeah,
like
like
I've listened to a lot of exorcists talk about this. I'm not saying this because I know anything firsthand, but exorcists say, they go in and out, and it's a struggle. It is a real struggle, and there needs to be a struggle if you're going to exorcise the demon. Because if someone's willing and they want that, there's no way to free them. There's no way to deliver them from it.
Oh, and I totally forgot about this part. The demons ask to be allowed to possess the pigs.
Yeah, because that would be preferable to going back to the way they were.
Yeah, to just floating around.
I remember
in the
that was
nothingness.
so impactful, and then they drowned themselves.
Yeah.
Can you build like icons or fetishes that allow the demons to possess those icons without having to possess your life forms?
Depending on who you ask. Like,
there's like the Germanics, ancient pagans have a lot of friendly demons, like house demons and things would come and bless your house with food, then they'd leave, and that would be considered a type of demon.
So I think that's I think a linguistic issue, because the term demon comes from the Greek daemon. The Hebrew word comes from, I want to say, Babylonian, like Akkadian. And the idea is that like it's a classification of spirits. In the Akkadian version of things, in Israelite versions of things, they're supposed to be either another classification of spirits, like the Yazidi, not Yazidi, like the, God, what do they call it? It starts with a Y. It sounds like Yazidi. It's in Zoroastrianism. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Actually, I think that we should.
Oh, right, the demon thing. They just called them spirits.
Aliens originally.
So the Norse they didn't have this perception of good spirits and evil spirits necessarily. It was more a spectrum.
You're working on 2 hours of sleep, so
Yeah.
I understand. No one can tell. I definitely couldn't tell.
I went.
You're high functioning.
I went to bed at 9 a.m.
Oh, animal.
Before
could not sleep.
Before we do anything else, I think we should show the cute of the day for today, and then I
it's a
need to get
demon.
through some of these super chats. And then we're going to move on and talk about goblins.
Woo!
So first we're going to look at Aidan's dogs.
Hell yeah.
You're going to tell us about them, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Archie's the little white one. He's wearing a tactical vest.
I like Archie.
Archie's great. He is a tiny white American Eskimo dog. He's extremely fluffy and friendly, and he howls, but it's a tiny little baby howl. The much larger one that is attacking him in this image is Ella, our husky. She and I have had a troubled relationship, but we're getting better. She's very loud. Obviously, she loves my girlfriend more than me.
Yeah, I can see that.
But she is cute. And that's
I love
Archie just
Archie.
giving a little nap time.
Look at this snowball. Mm-hmm. I love it.
He's perfect. Wow. That was during a business meeting. He didn't know what was going on. Why were we in the back of a pickup truck? Yeah, he's got a toy there. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a
Very
great little guy.
cute. Okay.
That's Ella again. She crosses her paws a lot.
Now, I need to get through some of these super chats first, and then we're going to go into Zimbabweans.
Sweet.
Zimbabweans?
The Zimbabwe goblins, the Zimbabweans.
Zimbabweans.
Okay,
Got it.
Shane H. Wilder said, greetings, Special Agents Morgan, Mattis, and Kellen, and Deputy Director Cashman. Unfortunately, he's gone. Welcome to the PCC files. The truth is out there, and the frogs are gay.
Cashman's actually listening in a van parked outside, right?
Yeah.
It says a plumber, but it's really him in there with like a bunch of screens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's doing a
actually
little
in my
FBI
ear.
kind of thing.
He's been feeding me the script the whole time. Actually.
Gotcha.
We got a 20 from Bryce E. He said, if you watched it, what did you all think of the depictions of heaven, hell, purgatory, angels, demons, gods from the show Supernatural? Did anyone here watch it?
Only couple
I watched
episodes.
the entire
Maybe a
thing.
season 1 or 2.
What did you think?
The fact that I do what I do for a living is entirely due to Eric Kripke, because the Supernatural was like my thing growing up.
Is that the creator of the show?
Yeah. Him, and then Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki, obviously.
I really like him and the boys. He's a soldier boy.
Yeah, and that's another Kripke show. The boys.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. I
Dude,
did know
Kripke,
that. Yeah,
I don't
did know
love how obvious the politics are in the boys, but as far as like the actual plot and the dialogue, he's a great showrunner.
It worked for them, and they're leaning on it. This is what South Park did, right? The first 10 seasons of South Park were about the misadventures of 4 fourth grade boys. Now it's just making fun of the world.
Exactly.
It's a different show.
It's a different show.
But it was
So,
successful, and they leaned on it.
There's a new season of The Boys, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's out right
First
now?
3
Yeah, I haven't
You
gotten to watch it yet.
I have.
Okay, what
I'm
did
waiting
you...
for it to come out all the way.
So to the super chat, what
Yeah.
did you think of the way it portrayed everything?
So I actually found I think they did a good job of not pretending to be like basing it, like trying to be factually accurate to Abrahamic faiths, which I think was a good move. But I think that they gave angels free will. They gave the devil a much more nuanced kind of viewpoint where he's not necessarily pure evil. He's an adversary. He's an accuser, a challenger. And what he does, he goes and he challenges the other angels. He challenges God. That is biblically what Satan does. You can argue that he's evil, but I would argue that the Bible doesn't have evil. It just has good and then not good, as we said. But yeah, so I think they did a great job with angels, with demons for the most part. I didn't totally love it, but I think they did a decent job. God, they totally dropped the ball. Like, just a stupid move. Purgatory was cool, though. Okay. Purgatory was really cool. It was like, a forest. It was like an endless North American forest.
I know our colleague Sarah is very into Supernatural.
Great show.
Andrew
it's sad
Jacobs.
they ended after 5 seasons.
Andrew Jacobs said, "Hi, Mary. Congrats on taking over PCC and belated congrats on Megan 2 Electric Boogaloo. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you on Candace's new show. Hi, Kellen."
Hello.
Well, that's not confirmed, but that would be cool.
Who is that from?
Andrew Jacobs.
What's up, Andrew?
Shane H. Wilder said, "Since Cashman is on, is your eye leaking, Mary?" Well, we kicked Shane out because my eye was leaking. It was a problem.
Dude, we got to somehow in the future make this exact episode happen, but add Cashman to the fold. We'll pull up another chair next to one of you guys. He could take my chair, and I'll sit in the little lame chair and press buttons. But dude, the three of them all together, all of you guys talking about demons and aliens and angels.
It would be a vibe.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Isaac Martinez said Mary has taken over the channel. Sweet. I only have power for the next couple of days, though. I'm gonna be back to my regular duties soon. Shane H. Wilder said, "I will be checking this episode for backmasking."
That's a good idea. What is that?
What does that mean?
I'm going to look up backmasking. That's what's
I have
going to
no
happen.
idea what that means, Shane. He also said, "My apologies, Special Agent Crossland is here instead of Deputy Director Cashman. Greeting, Ian."
Thanks for the rectification.
So it's a recording technique in which a message is recorded backwards onto a track that is meant to be played forwards.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We might be saying some sus things.
I think that's the idea, is like somewhere in the background there's something going like,
wow, and we didn't even know we were doing it. I wonder
That was a good impression.
Yeah, thank you.
time works backwards and forwards, because if time's not real, but there's just all this motion, then what is perceived time and
Inertia.
And are we like creating the future, or are we part of the result of the future? Is like what we already did.
Have you ever seen those videos of like the linguistic experts where they speak? They're like, "This is what English sounds like to non-English speakers."
Yeah.
And it sounds like drip. That's what that reminds me of the backtracking. It's like
You can tell somebody's saying something.
right, but it's like you also can't comprehend or make it out. You know, it's very, very like weird to listen to.
It doesn't sound pretty.
No.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "When Brett comes back, we should ask him how his transition surgery went." Also, Kellen, how could you not meet me at the protest in DC last week? What
Sorry
protest?
I think they were talking. I'm actually mad because I had an opportunity to go the pro-Palestine. It was pro-Palestine and then Pride, and then it merged together at some point. There's two different events going on. Yeah,
I don't
like
think that Palestinians would be happy about that.
They
Probably not.
started attacking like police officers and stuff, and I had the chance to go cover it with a lot. And it was just a very late invite, and I was up late, and I was like, I'm gonna have to pass on this one. But I'm kicking myself because it did seem like a pretty crazy time down there.
Did you see the video of the pro-Israel and pro-Palestine protests that were across the street from each other, and they were both yelling "F Joe Biden"?
Yeah, dude.
That's one of my favorite things I've seen. I'm like, oh boy, you're in trouble, bud.
It was crazy.
They were saying, "Let's go, Brandon." Aiden.
We talked
news.
about this last week on IRL. It's like, listen, Joe Biden wasn't popular with the youth, if you will, like these people before the Israel attack, or before Hamas attacked Israel, right?
Oh, you're gonna get clipped. You're gonna get clipped.
He was already unpopular, and then October 7th happened, so it's just made everything that much worse. You know?
Well, Trump
Everything's
is
been
more
half
popular on TikTok, so
Yeah, dude.
I just hope both teams have fun.
this is gonna be you on
Participation trophy. That's what
Yeah, it's gonna be me. It's gonna be me on IRL tonight. Just like I just hope everyone has a good time.
You should go to these events with participation trophies. Start handing them out.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, just give yourself a pat in the back.
You did an activism today.
Hey, I'm gonna give a bronze medal to Hezbollah.
Shane H. Wilder, I remixed the PCC theme for the video. It is the PCC theme Spooky Molder mix.
Interesting.
Okay, so no copyright
Nice.
violation. Thank you for doing that.
Should make it your ringtone, Mary.
All right, we're going to move on and talk about goblins.
Hell yeah.
Zimbabwe police officers terrorized by goblins at night. I have no idea how verifiable this is, but we have some on-the-ground journalism.
Well, this is Bulawayo 24.
I have no idea what news site this is.
It just refreshed on
But
me.
yes,
I don't know why.
Well, yeah, that is.
A police base in Zimbabwe has been deserted by police officers who claimed they were being terrorized by goblins at night.
Oh, I did hear about this.
The
Wait.
Ward 2 counselor confirmed this situation, saying, "We built a police station for the officers, and initially they patrolled in pairs. However, they haven't been able to stay for extended periods. They described being harassed, bodies being violated, doors opening on their own, and things climbing on the roof, making it impossible to sleep. The male officers claimed they were being terrorized by female goblins, specifically. The police withdrew the officers from that station, stating they wouldn't endanger them any further. And they have addressed the situation and cautioned villagers against such behavior. Police came yesterday and said we should look for an alternative accommodation. We asked them to come back and see. We will see if the attacks continue, said a spokesperson. So Lord Miles, I don't know if any of you are familiar with him.
Yeah,
Vaguely.
He has been on IRL before, actually. He happened to be just an 8-hour drive from the site of these goblin attacks, and he posted that he would go and investigate this for himself if he got 5,000 likes, which he did by many times over. So he went to speak to the goblin leader of the village and interview people there. He said, basically everyone here believes in goblins, and apparently there's a witch in each village that can communicate with them and control them. I'm going to see what I can do for goblin witch African diplomacy.
So
Yeah, he went and investigated.
I might have found what it comes from, which is it's called the Tokoloshi.
Before you explain that, this reminds me of those Haitian zombies.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Wait, what?
So that's going to be my guess. It's something similar to that.
What
Yeah.
are the Haitian zombies? What is that?
Explain, and then
Oh God! Don't do this to me.
wait.
This is my
the
job,
Haitian
isn't it?
zombies were like
You know everything.
near. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there are these individuals that were like near death and like in this like kind of crazy like
Yeah.
almost like a manic state, but it was through the use of like certain drugs and rituals that they would do. Probably dehydration was a big factor, right? And
Okay.
they were resurrecting these people in Haiti, and this is before barbecue.
Yeah.
This is like years and years
Yeah.
ago. So
Okay.
Before
yeah.
barbecue?
The warlord.
Oh,
the
okay,
cannibal.
right. I forgot about
How
that.
could you
I
forget
forgot there
that?
was the cannibal thing in
That's
Haiti.
still going
Right.
on too.
But no, yeah, you're right. They would take people who were either believed to be dead or had basically the way it was told is that people who had just died would be dug up by these witch doctors who would then reanimate them. The question is like, did the witch doctor drug the person beforehand so they seemed dead so they could then dig them back up? That's kind of the belief is maybe that's
Yeah.
what was going on.
Yeah, like because
Wait,
And then they just become a zombie slave.
okay, and what's the source of the goblin incidents?
I'm wondering if it's the Tokoloshi, which
is
is it looks like it comes from Bantu and Zulu folklore, from what I'm seeing. But it was used to explain why people died inexplicably while sleeping at night. But
Okay.
from what I'm seeing, every village tends to have villages tend to have witch doctors or witches who will fight these things and keep them away. It says they can become invisible by drinking water or swallowing a stone. And that they cause trouble for people. At its least harmful, it can be used to scare children. Its power extends to causing illness or even death of the victim.
Okay. Takes on a particularly different character because this
interesting.
is like sexual assault, basically.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that sexual assault is ruled out of this.
Trouble. It's
Yeah,
trouble.
like-
So he said, I've investigated the goblin incident in Zimbabwe and it unearthed shocking goblin paranormal activity. Reports of goblin terrorism are rampant. I interviewed the village counselor who told me about several claims of goblin rape against school teachers and policemen. Quote, women wake up and their panties have been stolen whilst they have slept and they have been violated. Men get effed at night even with their doors locked, unquote. Goblin lore details he's provided here. Goblins are spirit demons who belong to someone in the village, usually a wizard or a witch, who keeps them like pets and they either become too unruly and terrorize the village, or they are unleashed on the village because they are too high maintenance. The village, like, I love the idea that they're just like, I'm tired of dealing with these goblins, do whatever you want. The village has to usually come together for a meeting to encourage the unknown goblin owner to get their goblin under control and do rituals to force the goblins out. He said, I'll be returning in a few days to stay in the abandoned police station overnight to experience the goblins for myself.
That's tracking. That is tracking with what I'm seeing.
Is that
Okay.
Miles
Tokloshi
saying all that stuff, or was it?
Yeah, this is Miles'
He's
actual...
doing the deep work.
Yeah, this is his on the ground reporting.
when they said-
that man, he just shows up.
He's everywhere.
When they said that they
Yeah.
release them because they become too high maintenance, is that the goblins become too high maintenance for the
Yeah.
summoner, or that
Yeah,
the townsfolk have become too high maintenance for the guy, and he's just like, go get him, goblins. I
The
can't take
goblins
anymore.
they're exhibiting diva behavior. They're making demands.
So I'm wondering if this is just like a gang, and you know how like certain gangs are called like the Devils, or like I can't think of any particular examples, but what if that's just like the name they gave themselves? So there's just a gang that likes to do a lot of drugs, and they called themselves the Goblins,
Yeah.
and maybe it's been a thing for decades. You know, it's been
you
organized crime.
You would see that they're human.
I don't, but I'm not hearing anything that they're not human.
Yeah,
here.
that's the thing.
They haven't been identified
They're
yet.
being called goblins, but they're not being described as
Yeah,
goblins.
does he say that they said that the things they were seeing were these specific things he's describing? Like
They haven't claimed to see anything.
Okay.
Because when I
They're
hear,
saying, "Oh, it was just while I was sleeping." Like
I think of like Harry Potter, like Dobby, when I you know, like when I hear goblin, like little
Not
creature,
Dobby.
Elvis.
He's based off of, I want to say, a hobgoblin brownie, I think.
He's a
Okay.
hobgoblin.
Yeah,
They're bigger.
I think he's a brownie.
didn't
brownies.
they claim that was an anti-Semitic depiction of?
Yeah, 'cause his
I don't.
nose.
I think it was the
Goblins.
goblins.
I think
Oh,
that's
the
specifically,
actual
yeah.
goblins
So
in
that's the thing
Harry
is,
Potter.
goblin is one of those terms that's kind of
Right.
like fairy, where it applies to a whole bunch of things, and goblins themselves are a class of fairies. It's the folklore gets weird.
Oh, they're
what's like-
fairies. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
What's like the original, or what would you say is like the first known instance in literature that goblin and or fairies?
It really depends on how you define the term. If you want to talk about like specifically the term goblin,
Yeah.
we're talking High Middle Ages in
Okay,
France.
so fairly new.
Yeah, because Gobelin it's a French word.
does
French
that mean?
word. I don't particularly remember the exact meaning of it. I think it's diminutive from whatever gob is for them. But yeah, in Britain you have things that are called. In some cases you have your like house goblins, your house elves, like Dobby, like brownies, hobgoblins, things like that are more social. And then you have things like red caps, which are little creatures that live out in the woods, and their caps are red because they dye them with the blood of their victims.
They're poisonous, I hear.
Okay.
Or at
You
least they
think
are when
that's
you
where-
fight them in D&D.
That
Yeah.
reminds me of like a gnome.
Yeah, so
Red
gnomes
cap.
would probably be considered a form of
Interesting.
goblin in this case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
In this situation, are they all like tripping? Like, is this like a collective? They're getting induced by like, is there a sulfur leak in the town, or there's
Yeah.
a methane leak, and they're
Like
all
that Santa Claus origin story.
didn't
No,
They're all
what-
on shrooms.
or like
The shrooms thing you were talking
Or
about
like
last time.
the,
that.
yeah.
Well, it's
the
like
portals to hell in ancient Rome, when it was really just toxic chemicals. Anything that went near these openings died, but it's just a buildup of toxic fumes, and that's why it was killing
and
everything.
the Salem witchcraft trials. Apparently, they were all tripping balls on ergon.
Right,
not be
that's-
surprised.
They
Interesting.
infested their rye, the fungus, and they were all
When it,
like,
like when a civilization
lysergic.
starts and they all start using a certain, maybe it's food, water, or where they're sleeping at night, and if that
'Cause
toxin is there,
This is a bunch of people. They haven't seen anything yet, but they're all experiencing a lot of weirdness. And so either it is literally organized crime and these people are sneaking in, or they're tripping their minds out, and or it's some other weird thing
Yeah.
other than that.
Lord Miles only gave us one update after he spent the night at that police station. He said, "My tour guide, Durex, has discovered who the goblin leader is during a smoke break. The, quote, goblin chief is an elderly drunkard of the village who's commanding goblins in a plot to delay the opening of the village medical clinic project, ensuring additional government funding, which he will profit from. Scandal. Durex has called on the villagers to deal with the goblin chief, but they are scared to do so and have referred the matter to the minister designated with dealing with tribal witchcraft affairs. We have ensured a safe night at the goblin hotspot by gifting the goblin chief cigarettes and a loaf of bread, although he denies all charges."
Leave it to Miles to do the hard work.
Yeah.
So that just sounds like an organized crime.
Miles?
I'm gonna be honest. The entire time this was being described, I was like, "This sounds like somebody using the local folklore to scare people into doing something they want." Like that.
Yeah.
That happens all over America. It happens all over Britain. It happens in continental Europe. You got people.
Scooby-Doo.
They're much more superstitious than Westerners.
You ever been to small towns?
Pick the
in
superstition.
Appalachia?
I mean, let's modernize it, right? Like, there's that bad part of town where rent is cheap, but it's dangerous. Is that just folklore? So people don't move in, gentrify it, and jack up the prices?
Having been to Kensington, no.
Well, it depends. But I'm saying this is like a modern version of that, where it's very convenient for those residents.
It's like shooting into the air when you don't want prices to go up.
West Texas. Don't go to West Texas. It's full of racists. Like, I'm sure there are racists there, but what if it's just a story so people don't move in and put up apartment buildings and, Oh,
Wendigoon always would say that to me about Tennessee, because we were down there a couple years ago and we were like, oh my God, it's beautiful here.
Yeah.
It's like, it is gorgeous there in the Smokies. And he's like, no, it sucks. Don't come here. We're full.
Right. But I think it's a little bit of that and a little bit of the unknown is scary. So if people haven't ever been to these places, they're going to make up something. Right?
But who's pulling their pants off in the middle of the night?
That's still unanswered.
That's what I said, organized crime.
Well, I think we're also sitting here thinking like, police station in the sense that we perceive police station as Westerners.
Right.
They're probably not as secure. It's.
I think this was very carefully worded too, where he says they assured us they're locking their door, but
what about windows? Chimneys?
Do they have a
They're
back
climbing
door?
on the roof.
Is the roof completely concealed? Right? Because it looks like they're in a desert here, right? So it's like,
what was the village called?
Oh, I don't know. It was something very hard to read and pronounce.
Let's see.
Where'd it go? Zimbabwe, the
Bulilima, something like that.
Matabeleland.
Yeah, there we go.
Goblin findings inconclusive.
The Gwambe police.
The Gwambe police.
Yeah,
So,
I doubt it's the kind of infrastructure we're imagining.
And Lord Miles, he will go to these places, but he's very good at making it mysterious.
Well, he's also really good at ingratiating himself with the locals.
Yeah,
which is a good skill to have.
He is a salesman. He will sell it to you. Even if you're like, I don't want to know about goblins. When you read a post from him, you're like, okay, I want to know about the goblins.
He's insisting they're real.
Yeah.
He located the Goblin King. That's pretty impressive.
Wait.
I hope the tribe doesn't racistly slaughter that guy without evidence.
Well, if he can get along with the Taliban, he's pretty much good.
You guys ever?
Everyone likes him.
You ever watch? I think his name's David Cho. He did a Joe Rogan experience. Well, he said when he went to some of these jungles and met some of these tribes, they thought he was an angel or an alien because they've never seen an Asian person before. So they see him, his hair is different, his complexion is different. They couldn't think, they didn't know what they were looking at. They're like, you must be angelic, you must be an alien. There's no way, because you don't look like us.
It's like what you were saying earlier off air about, Sasquatch theories might have just been tall people wearing furs.
That's what some of the, I think the Skokomish, that's what their version, they called them the Saatiks, and they came from Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they basically said these people are 6.5 to 7 feet tall. They wear a lot of furs and they live in the mountains.
Or, more entertaining conclusion, they're actually goblins and they're actually Bigfoot. Let's just go with that. Let's just go with that.
I'm trying to find this police station so I can take a look at it.
The Guam.
You're trying to get the Google Earth satellite images.
It's in Bulilima.
GWAMBE. Gwambe.
Chimeras are real. The Chinese have been making
the state
animal monkey hybrids or human monkey hybrids. I think they've been working on those.
Yeah.
So if they're working on goblinoid chimeras and releasing them on populations, it's no joke.
Yeah, they're doing some really messed up stuff in Chinese laboratories.
That in Chinese, it's easy to be like over there. They're doing all this.
Well, so
weird
I'm
stuff.
seeing these. I don't know if we covered this, but apparently they abandoned the police station because of these goblin attacks. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, they just said F this, I'm out.
Yeah.
But while you're working on that, Aidan, I did want to revisit something you mentioned last time we were talking on the show. You said that the Illuminati conspiracy theory was completely invented by a couple of Playboy writers.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit more than that. Robert Anton Wilson and Robert Shea. That's how I refer to them. That's my bad.
You were right about Robert Anton Wilson, and his co-author was Carrie Thornley.
There were a few different ones, yeah.
Like, I looked into this a little bit further, but basically they created their own religion. Scientology comes up sometimes on the show because it's Tom Cruise's best kept secret. And, they decided to make a parody religion. Thank you, guys. Second crisis party already. What a treat.
Yeah. Blow it at me, baby.
Let's go. It's Phil, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's Phil's
It's entertaining.
Yeah. So I looked into this.
Bonus track on all that remains next album.
The Illuminati that we've come to hear about today is hardly influenced by the Bavarians at all. David Bramwell, author and broadcaster, dedicated himself to documenting the origins of the modern or postmodern Illuminati conspiracy. In an era of counterculture mania, LSD, and interest in Eastern philosophy, is largely responsible for the group's totally unsubstantiated modern incarnation. It began somewhere amid the summer of love and the hippie phenomenon when a small printed text emerged, Principia Discordia, which is the founding text of this parody religion, Discordianism. And I looked into
He wrote
this.
under the name Malaclips the Younger.
Yeah, so one of the tenets of Discordianism is something called Operation Mindfuck, which is a practice in which all national calamities, assassinations, or conspiracies are publicly attributed to the Bavarian Illuminati, the 18th century secret society, in an attempt to sow the culture with paranoia. And I guess they had high hopes for what they were going to do with this fake religion. They were going to make everyone question their reality so that you wouldn't trust the mainstream media and you would not trust anything. But it turned out they realized people are dumb.
Yeah.
And they will just believe everything they read.
I do give people from back, before the internet a little bit of breathing room on that, because it was a lot harder to go and fact check things. You had to go to a library, you had to look for a book, you had to make sure, you had to read the book, you couldn't just search it, you had to read the whole thing.
Yeah. So, according to David Bramwell, Robert Anton Wilson and Carrie Thornley decided that the world was becoming too authoritarian, too tight, too closed, and too controlled. They wanted to bring chaos back into society, to shake things up. And the way to do that was to spread disinformation, to disseminate misinformation through all portals. This is pre-internet, so they would have had a lot more success later on. Through counterculture, through the mainstream media, through whatever means. And they decided they would do that by telling stories about the Illuminati. And they sent these fake letters to Playboy at the time from readers that were talking about this secret elite society called the Illuminati. And then they sent in additional letters to contradict what the previous ones said. So they thought, everyone is going to read all this stuff and think, maybe we shouldn't trust everything we read. But in reality, it just snowballed into people really believing in the postmodern Illuminati society. And they run Hollywood, they run the government, and all halls of power.
So,
and that is now what you see on forums online.
It's a tough sell for me because I remember, Ian, you were there. We went down to Congress to do a couple shows for IRL. And I remember getting there, I'm like, oh, it's like a giant high school. I'm like, oh, they're bragging about who has the bigger office. I'm like, these are the leaders of the free world.
Yep.
It was very blackpilling. It knocked me off. Like, it knocked themselves off a pedestal that I thought they were on, right? So, like, the idea that people can just, like, control the world by pulling strings and the all-powerful, that belief was really shaken when I saw the government. I'm like, this is kind of sad.
That's the joke that Freemasons always make. It's like, people think we're controlling the world. We can't even decide what to have for dinner.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
That's not a joke. A lodge meeting, I think, earlier this year.
Yeah.
Somebody had ordered hoagies instead of pizza, and we were all like, I thought we were having pizza. And they were like, sorry.
Well, I mean, it's not that I think the concept of secret elites controlling power in society is hard to believe. I do believe that. I just don't think it's the Illuminati.
It's
you know
not
what I mean?
nearly
and it's
as efficient as they make it out to be.
centralized. I mean, look, Epstein existed. Sorry, but like that's a thing. Like there are secret, unnamed elites that are controlling things.
Right.
I just don't think that they are Freemasons or Illuminati members.
The richest
like,
people in the world, you don't know their names.
Yeah, and
Sure.
it's a,
So-
sort of a danger when I'll blame the CIA for something,
Yeah.
and I think the people that are really doing it are like, haha, yes, they're running cover for us.
yes.
Well, do you want to? I have a segment of one of the letters here if you want to read it. This is from, it's believed to have been written in 1969 by Robert Anton Wilson, submitted to the April issue of Playboy magazine that year, because where else are you going to write about the Illuminati? Obviously in Playboy. And he wrote, a friend of my grandparents said that the current wave of assassinations in North America is the work of a secret society called the Illuminati. He said that the Illuminati have existed throughout history, own the international banking cartels, have all been 32nd degree Masons, and were known to Ian Fleming, who portrayed them as Spectre in his James Bond books, for which the Illuminati did away with Mr. Fleming. Then I read in the New Yorker that Alan Chapman, one of Jim Garrison's investigators in the New Orleans probe of the John Kennedy assassination, believes that the Illuminati really exist. I mentioned this to a friend who is majoring in Middle Eastern affairs. He told me the Illuminati were actually part of Arab origin, and that their founder used marijuana to work up a murderous frenzy, and who fought against the Crusaders. Now, I would like to briefly interrupt. Has anybody been driven into a murderous frenzy by smoking weed? Probably never.
No.
Really? Because I have seen people reporting more and more that there is marijuana-induced psychosis as they're taking high dosages of edible THC.
Well, yes, but that's a little
often
different.
leads to suicide.
Yeah, that's like way overdoing it. This is basically the guy smoked some
But
hash.
this is 60s weed we're talking
Oh,
about.
the guy
We're not
they're talking- the guy they're talking about
THC
here-
gummy bears.
Yeah, the guy we're talking about here is like 1100s weed.
Mm-hmm.
This man's smoking the actual Arabica strain from over there.
It's
like,
basically just hemp. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
It gives you
the
a
rest,
buzz.
but the rest of it goes on to basically say that he mentioned to a friend from Berkeley who told him there's a group on campus that calls itself the Illuminati and that boasts that it secretly controls international finance and the mass media. Any of this sounding familiar? Now, if Playboy isn't part of the Illuminati conspiracy, can you tell me, are the Illuminati part of the Masons? Do they all really own the banks and TV stations? And who have they killed lately? This was a letter written to the editor of Playboy asking about these letters talking about the Illuminati. So they constructed this whole thing in 1968, 1969, and then in 1975 they come out with a series of books called the Illuminatus Trilogy. And that's written by, I want to say it was Wilson and Shea, and I think Principia Discordia is Greg Hill and Carrie Thornley.
Yeah, and then Robert Anton Wilson kind of
They all kind of work together
jumped
on it.
in on that,
They
too.
released the book, and they released Principia Discordia in 1963.
Got it.
Letters to the Editor, 1969. Illuminatus Trilogy in 1975.
So the concept behind this was that if you give enough contrary points of view on a story, idealistically, the population at large start looking at these things and think, hang on a minute. They ask themselves, can I trust how the information is presented to me? It's an idealistic means of getting people to wake up to suggested realities that they inhabit, which of course didn't happen the way that they were hoping. And now, if you look on a site like Vigilant Citizen, which I was perusing at 12 years old, you will see countless articles about the Illuminati running Hollywood and how they have Illuminati rituals. And then celebrities actually, stoke those flames by playing into it. And someone like Jay-Z throws up this triangle. I'm going to get screenshotted doing this and people are going to use it as evidence that I'm Illuminati. But Jay-Z and Beyonce throwing up the triangle and all of these celebrities doing the one eye thing.
What does that one mean though? Because
Throwing
that
up
one, honestly, both. Because if it's not Illuminati, I don't think it is. What is it supposed to signify? Are they just trolling?
It's the Eye of Horus,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Probably like,
What
this.
is?
I mean, this is
around
the,
their
this is,
eye?
this is
doing
the A-OK
no, no.
symbol.
Well, yeah,
But
they do
doing
it
it
at
over
amusement parks.
doing
Yes.
it over your eye, that's something that countless celebrities have done. And I'm not saying they're doing it because they're in the Illuminati.
Yeah,
I think they're doing it to be edgy
That's the other
and
thing
get
is
people
that
talking.
Yeah,
I think a lot of
seems
people
like a troll.
A lot of people don't necessarily think about is marketing. We talked about this in our Astroworld video and our Illuminati video. A lot of the time that you see these celebrities doing things, like Jim Carrey getting up on, who was it, Jimmy Kimmel, and doing the thing where he's like,
yeah.
We
and
talked about that.
Yeah, and Kimmel's like, what was that? And he's like, oh, you
The
don't know.
Illuminati.
But they do it. It's part of its marketing, I think. This is not to say that I don't think there's not weird secret societies or little clubs in Hollywood that are definitely
Sure.
weird, because there are.
Spirit cooking.
Yeah, but this is not that. And if you look at what Wilson said in his writings and in just his personal writings, first of all, he was very clear that his trilogy was fictional and it was meant to be subversive. But what he writes is like things like governments are based principally on force and deception. Democratic governments are based chiefly on deception, other governments on force. And democratic governments, if you get too uppity, give up on the deception and resort to brute force, as a lot of us found out in the 60s. Those who didn't find out in the 60s will find out in the near future because we're going to have a rerun. He created the Illuminati conspiracy to push us away from authoritarianism. Mm-hmm. Like it is basically medieval dream literature as far as what its purpose is. It's to be subversive for the purpose of getting away from the powers that be. But the people who are most attuned to that today don't realize that. They don't realize that this was all basically, I don't necessarily say allegory, but it was all a subversion. It was all symbolic. It was all meant to press you away from the status quo and say, hey, we can beat this. We can beat these people. Like, because as you said, they're not the brightest bunch in Congress.
They were trying to get people to realize that maybe like journalists are incompetent losers.
Well, popularity gets conflated with intelligence all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, so...
Well, the Illuminatus trilogy attributed the cover-ups of those times, such as the JFK assassination, to the Illuminati. And this article also mentions a study that was done and reported on in the Washington Post about Americans' propensity to believe in conspiracy theories. And I think they really did capitalize on a certain paranoia that existed in 20th century America.
Yep.
They already had that germinating, and they used that for Discordianism to blow up.
Paranoia, though, because with most, I'd say, first world civilizations nowadays, they've got thousands of years of history, where America, we're babies. Like we've got, 247 years?
As a country.
As a country, we got a little bit more than that. But
like 400 years of colonization.
UK,
but skepticism of the government must have really ramped up after the First and Second World Wars.
Sure, but what I'm saying is I think we have to fill in the gaps because we compare ourselves to other like world powers like Russia and the UK, and they have this long lineage and this just thousands of years of history that we don't have, right? When you think of like ancient, like we think of our families and where they came from, where they think of like what happened on this land 1,000 years ago. We don't have that luxury, so I think we fill in the gaps with these fun stories, like who's pulling the strings. Like
it's not fun
because because the movie's not as long. You have to make it more exciting.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that it was a good point to say too that like when this was all coming about is important, because if you think about the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, 1950s you have Korea, which a lot of people saw as a waste of lives. You have 1970s, you have 1960s Gulf of Tonkin, and then Vietnam, which a lot of people thought was a waste of lives. Yep. And then in 72, you have the revelation of the past 30 years. There's been an experiment going on in Tuskegee, Alabama, where they have been telling black people they're treating them for syphilis while not treating them for syphilis.
Like, we know the CIA does shady shit, right? That's public knowledge. And I'm all about having a discussion about, you know, what is not publicly known about assassinations, wars, anything like that. But it's like they were trying to get people to think deeper about those things, and then they just gave them a simple scapegoat that was completely detached from reality. But this article from the Washington Post noted that 50% of Americans report believing in some sort of conspiracy theory, and they list that in any given year, half the public generally endorses at least one conspiracy theory, some of the most popular including the birther conspiracy about Obama, endorsed by about 25%, which is kind of surprising. That was a high number. The truther conspiracy about 9/11, endorsed by 19%. The theory that the FDA is deliberately withholding natural cures for cancer, endorsed by 40%. And the theory that the Fed intentionally orchestrated the 2008 recession, endorsed by 19%.
I'm glad that all of those numbers are as small as they are, to be honest.
There's a popular meme that goes around where it's like the CIA. It's like, yeah, I did 1, 2, and 3. Oh, but I didn't do number 4. Believe me. And it's usually like British people that post this meme to make fun of Americans, because the CIA constantly does this, admits to it 20 years after the fact, but then assures you they're done, right? They're not doing it anymore. They insist
that the MK Ultra project has been discontinued.
Right. So there's always stuff that the public, for whatever, whether intentional or not, is not going to. It's not going to get to the it's not going to get to the dinner table in conversation. It's not going to make it to the the main media, right? The internet. I'd say first with the 1960s, you've got the Illuminati conspiracy emerging, and what's also happening then? Well, things are being televised now. It's just this lens, this view that we never had before. That happened again in the 2000s when the internet emerged. So right, we're getting these new perspectives on life that didn't exist before, and it's like, holy crap. Like, it's almost like you feel silly because you're like, before this, there's so much that I didn't see, so much I didn't hear, so much I didn't know. So it's like your brain is automatically going to go to those different places to be like, what's next?
That's, I think, the age of the radio, television, and internet is what's driving this conspiracy theorizing, because you're able to see all the lies, or a lot of the lies are becoming apparent now, more apparent faster with this better and better technology.
Seems
Not
like a
just
lot
lies.
of people just, are making money off of...
Difference of opinion too, though, right? You used to be, if you were in a small town, you got the local radio, and then you got national television. Now you hear what Brazilians their opinions are on American politics
I feel like
with the internet.
The entire point is to make you question reality and make you feel like you cannot stand on solid ground.
That's
and
a good
that's why doom scrolling Twitter makes you lose your mind at some point. But I have to read this $20 from Dr. Larsena. The very word assassin derives from Hashishin, which was a very real subsect of Ismaili Shiite Muslims, known for making extensive use of both political assassination and hashish. I don't know if I said that right.
Hashish. Yep.
Hashish.
That's wild.
I thought,
Do you know about that?
I thought Shakespeare invented the word.
Oh, no, this is pretty...
assassin. So is that after the fact?
It might...
or is that fake news?
Well, I don't know, but my suggestion would be that if invented probably meant transliterated, he might be the one that took the H out.
Got it.
That's a very well-known medieval fact that there was an order of religiously motivated assassins who were known for psychedelic drug use and also assassinations. This is what Assassin's Creed is based off of.
There's also the berserkers. They're berserkers. They would be the Northerners. They would drink mushroom tea and then wear bear skins. So that was their psychoactive of choice. And they'd go into battle, fearlessness, without armor, with a couple of axes, screaming, just like full on.
I'm just imagining this as you.
Also, it should be made clear that like these people were often kept away from society a little bit. Like they weren't totally outside, but your berserker usually lived like a mile or so from the village.
What do you think this connection is with this like kind of return to animalism? I don't know if that's a word, but like this animalistic instinct when taking the mushroom tea or the other psychedelics. Like I feel like that theme pops up over and over again, where someone resorts to like primal instincts and appearance and behavior when associated with psychedelics.
Well, because it impairs your intellect and it alters your state of mind.
Do you think it's as simple as that?
Yeah, I do.
I think it's a bit of a nuanced thing. When you take certain kinds of drugs, they affect different parts of your brain. So you might be losing part of something, but you're gaining more somewhere else.
Sure.
Like I know that there's if I take CBD, I can focus better. Like if I drink alcohol, I can't, but I get a lot better at talking to people.
So do you think like psychedelics just as a drug class kind of emphasizes the naturalness, the animal in you, right?
I mean, think about what
hunter.
A lot of these substances are endogenous in our bodies. DMT being one of them, that we have endogenous DMT. Why? What's that for?
Well, I have a theory on that. They say when people see light, right, when they have near-death experiences, that's the release of DMT.
Yeah.
It's to help ease the death process. It's a natural, I guess, defense mechanism our bodies have just to make dying easier.
That's interesting.
With everything I've heard about it, I want to be clear that I've never done DMT, but from everything that I've heard about, actually, it's not entirely true. I accidentally did a DMT vape in college.
Oh.
I saw the rhombus.
Do you want to tell the story?
It was literally, my friend was like, here, try this. And I was in college and I thought it would be fun to, somebody hands you a THC pen. You're like, I've never done this. And I had nothing else to do that night. So I was like, I'll try it. And the weird part was I had never done something like that before. So when they told me that I had to hold it in my lungs as long as I possibly could, I was like, is that normal? Is that a normal thing for this? And then, they leave and I'm sitting on the couch and I look at my friend Sydney, who knew what it was and was sitting next to me. And I go, that wasn't THC, was it? She's like, oh, no. Is that what they told you? Yeah, they lied to me.
That's
they told,
crazy.
Yeah, I will admit that immediately after this, I helped them lie to my roommate about it because I thought it would be funny. But no, it only lasted a few minutes because it was like not a very high dosage, but it was weird, man. We saw it. We all saw different things. I saw rhombuses on the walls, and they talked. Sydney saw cats.
What did they say?
I don't remember. I just remember feeling like I wasn't worried about it. I was just like,
Because like Ian, when you spoke about an experience at the beginning of the show, and you said like you were having conversations, and you remember the conversations. So I wonder if it was just a dosage, a matter of dosing.
Yeah, for me, it lasted like 2.5 to 3 minutes. Barely anything happened. I was still present in the room. I didn't like pass out into a trance. And then my buddy Tyler comes downstairs. He had been upstairs, and we're like, "Yo, Tyler, what did you see?" And he goes, "Oh, I saw the Egyptian god Anubis." And we were like, "You should never do this again. You should never touch this again." He was like, "Oh no, I want to do it again." I'm like, "Why do you want to meet Anubis, bro? What's going on here?" But yeah, my theory with DMT was like, considering what you said about talking to other beings, right? In prophets in the Bible can speak directly to God. Now, we know that there are certain prophets, like there were schools of prophecy. You know, Samuel led one. It's where what's his name? Saul went. We know that this happened. Were they using something? Who knows? Did they have endogenous something? Maybe. But I would wonder if prophecy and shamanism comes from elevated DMT
So what
levels.
you're saying is the Bohemian Grove is basically like the ancient Greek philosophers. That's basically what they were doing.
I'm gonna be totally honest, dude. Bohemian Grove is just a place where Republicans can go and be like, you know, normal.
Edgy.
Well, no, it was all Republican politicians who had to hold up this, you know, super uptight, like in the 60s and 70s, you know, moralistic, religious. I've got to be the evangelical. I've got to hold the line for God.
So they just let loose.
And then this is a place where they could go and, you know, drink and have fun, probably smoke some weed. It's out in the California redwoods. And there's a lot of local, you know, rumors about how it was a great place for gigolos to pick up a John. So,
I see.
To me, it seems like they did summer camp for 2 weeks.
No human sacrifice.
So that's the weird part.
Yeah.
What? Like, you got all this stuff that seems totally normal, and then out of nowhere, they're like, and also.
But once your inhibitions are lowered, you're more open-minded
There's no
to things like
experience.
that.
You
But
just go off the
guys,
rails.
we're
It happens
blowing
the
through
first
time
weekend.
right now, so we should probably return to reading some of these super chats. Potatoes for Seamus said, "Can we get a Skibbity PCC episode?"
What does that mean?
That's a bad thing. We don't want that.
I don't know what that means.
Skibbity's bad.
But the answer is no anyway.
Skibbity is like Skibbity toilet, and that's usually like lame. We don't want a Skibbity episode.
Marco said, "Please raise volume of guests, Mary." Well, Kellen,
I'll be right
that's
back.
for you.
That's not.
I
That's
think
not
we got
Mary's
that
fault, to be
earlier.
fair.
Pop Culture Junkie said, "I firmly believe in the following. Time is what prevents everything from happening at once." I've never heard that before.
Time is what
Prevents everything from happening at once. I don't know. Food for thought. Pat the Plumber said, "I didn't know your studio was outside."
It's not.
Does it look like we're outside?
I mean,
right
the
now?
building is outside.
Yeah.
Like
guess,
most buildings.
Technically.
But are we? Because we're in an atmosphere.
We're in an
Are we?
attic.
Are
we
we? Are we in
outside?
an atmosphere, Kellen? Are we in an? Is there space, Kellen?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Sorry, I've been going through some. I've been going through it, man. I've been
He
going through it
admitted
on
that he
Twitter.
was a flat earther.
No, I did
before
not.
the show started.
How dare you?
We are literally in an attic right now. Quiet
you're in an
Inari
attic.
said,
Donut theory.
"Anyone listen to Suspicious Observer, Micronovas?"
I like it. You don't like him?
I hate him.
Why?
Why?
Because
What's going on?
I like
it's a
him.
grift. He takes very basic, simple scientific concepts that if you go like ask actual astrophysicists about, they'll be like, oh yeah, this is something predictable and normal, and yeah, the pole shift will be weird, might cause some weird effects. You know, we're trying to prepare for. We don't know how. But here's the thing. First of all, the reason I don't like him is because live on his own show, he agreed to come on and do a debate or a discussion with us.
Interesting.
And then we got into the email process to set it up, and about 2 emails in, he's like, oh, well, if you're not going to watch my entire catalog of videos beforehand, which keep in mind is like, at least at that time, something like 30-hour-long videos, or half-hour to hour-long videos, I was like, I'm not doing that to prep for a debate. The
What
goal
was the
here is for me to
debate
ask you
supposed to be about?
the pole shift and what's going to happen.
That's one of my. So,
Okay.
would you be willing for that debate to happen? I can try to make that happen.
Yeah, I would do it. I just,
We had
Heard it here
we had
first,
him
folks.
on the culture war.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite episodes because it's really just you think outside the box. Now to like kind of like offer you a retort, I do think it's interesting with the data that he's providing that, hey, the impacts of the sun we're seeing right now normally wouldn't have as much of an impact as they are having. So it's interesting because he's one of the only people actually talking about like the Earth's weakening magnetic field.
So that's a very common topic in modern science right now.
Well,
that's what I mean. This is what I mean.
He's made it entertaining. He's made it sexy. So they need to figure it out. If they have a better, if they have something better to offer, they need to do a better job at communicating it.
But that's what I mean is like the problem is it's not that the information isn't out there. It's not they're not studying. It's that scientists are really bad at speaking to normal people. So you get often you get people who are like, high school physics teachers are usually pretty good at this stuff, like Dave Farina, Professor Dave. But my biggest issue with Ben, because I'm fine if he disagrees and if he genuinely believes in this stuff, whatever. It's that he talks about how this is going to cause an absolutely catastrophic like crustal shift, whatever. And what's his solution? Selling subscriptions to a ranch in Colorado.
Well, that is like a fallout shelter.
It's like it's the most obvious grift I've ever
seen.
It's a ranch in Colorado.
They sold. Dude,
that's it.
Dude, companies made millions of dollars getting fallout shelters in every backyard in the 50s and 60s. So
I know.
This is nothing new.
I'm not saying it's new.
Yeah, okay.
Post Malone has one. Elon Musk has one.
Yeah, really my biggest issue, it's partially that and partially the fact that he agreed live on his show, I'll come and do the discussion, and then weaseled his way out of it privately. That pisses me off.
Suspicious observer, we're calling you out right now.
We'll figure it out. I'll talk
Plan the debate.
I'm going to talk to Lisa.
Culture war debate.
She's the booker for
That
Culture
would be
War.
nice.
I'm going to see if we can make this happen.
Okay.
I'm down.
It would be interesting. It was one of my favorite episodes, and I think having a follow would be fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm down to
Christian Ebers sent us $1.99 without a message. Thank you.
Thank you.
Porco Rosso Forever said, "Oh wow, is that Adolf Mattis from Lore Kitchen?"
What?
I told you we need to do a cooking episode. We'll do the Lore
Is this
Kitchen.
your alter ego?
I don't know what that is.
I'm
so confused.
Okay.
We had Chef Gruel on for that one episode. That was fun.
Lore cooking, yeah.
Lore cooking.
Lore cooking, that'd be sick. Yeah, what if we like get
That's a good
recipes, like
crossover.
ancient recipes, and try to recreate them on air?
That's good.
You know?
Okay, we'll just call you Adolf Mattis now.
I hate this. There was a substitute teacher at my high school whose name was Adolf, and that was deeply unfortunate for him.
Yeah, like most people would probably just legally change it. But I saw this guy on Twitter has the last name Hitler. He has a wife who took the name, bunch of kids. They all have the name Hitler.
Maybe
And
they just think it's funny.
You know his
he's
first
just the
name?
nicest guy in the world.
That's awesome. His first name was Adolphus.
Like,
Full told.
I usually say
Adolf's
women
just a
should
nickname.
take the last name when they get married, but in that case, we can make an exception.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take Hitler's last name?
I don't think I would.
Would you
no.
hyphenate
You
it?
could at least
No.
maybe adjust it.
I have
Yeah,
exceptions.
man.
Like, I definitely wouldn't take the last name Wiener.
You
I
add
wouldn't
a
take the
T.
last name Hitler. There are others, I'm
I know
sure.
I have a family
Hitler.
friend. They had an unfortunate last name, and she refused to take it.
Just change it to Hilter.
It's sometimes justified.
Yeah, there's
Just
a lot of
change
options.
it to Hilter.
Hilton, like the
But then
hotels.
people
you
are
seem
going to
rich.
mess up when they read it out loud, and
Probably,
you're going to
but
be at
then
the
you can be
DMV,
like,
and they're
really,
like,
dude? Really,
Hitler?
man?
Maybe
Really,
that's
my guy?
Maybe that's the Hilton family. Like they have all the hotels.
Maybe.
Maybe they just had a
Hiltler.
name change.
Hitlin?
Okay.
Helter Skelter.
Pat the Plumber said, maybe track 3 was the audio of People's Joker. The power of cringe compels you.
The power of cringe.
Well, that could exercise some demons.
What if it was his like an hour of just his stand up?
It's like, I want to test out this material on you and your demon.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said, talking about demonology and spiritual warfare, you have entered right into my wheelhouse. Catholic household with a dad who studied it.
I saw a few comments. They're like, "Oh, I'm not on enough drugs for this conversation." I'm like, "Yo, like we're
You don't
all
even-
We're all sober. Well, I'm
Chilling,
I'm
yeah.
on meth, but
Well,
Adderall to be clear.
okay.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
necessary, trust me. This is not one of those things where I'm like, I'm doing it for fun.
Okay. Christian Ebers said, Metatron Bros.
What is that?
Metatron bros. Yeah,
I don't know what that
Metatron is another
means
name for
either.
Enoch.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Maverick Pilgrim said, I know I just got here, so it may have been talked about. Has there been a discussion of walk-ins? Just
Walk-ins?
walk-ins?
What are walk-ins?
I don't know what that means. Could you give us some context?
Yeah,
I
Like an
was,
appointment or something?
Like spirits make an appointment?
yeah. I was hoping
I
that
don't know.
Walk-ins are
And then
welcome.
walk into
someone
your
would
body?
know.
Can you reread it?
He said, has there been a discussion of walk-ins?
I think I know what he's talking
Walk
about.
dash
I think
in?
I know what he's talking
Walk-dash-ins.
Yeah, I think I know what he's talking about. I believe it's I'm gonna mess this up, but it's generally the concept that non-human beings can walk into, I think it's either human bodies or the human dimension or something like that, and just exist here. Or it's, God, maybe it's demons that can walk into human bodies. I'm trying to remember it. I'll look it up. It's something along those lines.
All right, maybe later. Okay, I think we only have enough time for one, maybe two more topics, but the next one I wanted to get into is about Taylor Swift. And this is something that we've covered on the show before. There is a conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift is actually the clone or maybe the daughter of Zena LaVey. She is the daughter of Anton LaVey, who founded the Church of Satan. And she actually was their high priestess and spokesperson for 5 years, from 1985 to 1990. I posted about this because people were talking about the Avril Lavigne clone-spiracy recently. It's that one, I don't even pay attention to that one. I was like, who cares about this? We need to talk about Taylor Swift and Zena LaVey, because
also, she's been married to like 3 dudes in the industry who would definitely know if it was not her.
I don't know. I'm willing to entertain this one because, first off, like, just looking at pictures of them, the resemblance is uncanny. I presented one of those comparisons here.
Oh, I'm down with I'm talking about Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne. Yeah, that was literally a nothing burger. But like, can we all agree that Zena LaVey and Taylor Swift definitely at least look related? I would definitely believe they were related.
At first, I was definitely like, no, it can't be. There's got to be. I'm looking at like them in profile, and I can see it. I'm not saying I agree with it, but like I can definitely see where it's coming from.
And I thought, is it just this one frame from this one interview? But I looked up more and more pictures and videos of her. The resemblance is 100% there.
It's not
weird. Being just made up out of thin air. I definitely saw it.
Well, so like this is Taylor's kind of modern look, though. If you remember, like when she was a country singer, she didn't look like this. So
sure,
this has something
but she was
in
disguise, and then she decided to show her real self to the world.
Or is this what Hollywood does? Hollywood has this like Satanist like
she's like embraced this like serpentine aesthetic, starting with her Reputation album, and she's really into the snakes.
Well, MIA explained this a little bit when we had MIA on the Culture War. She explained why snakes are so prevalent through history and stuff like that. So that's not unique to Taylor or even American artists.
I'm just saying it's also in the blood because Zena LaVey is a musician herself.
Okay.
So she might have inherited the musical talent here, as was Anton LaVey.
Were they good?
No.
I have no idea. I have not listened to Zena's music, but I just find the timing interesting because I looked into Zena's background some more. I was wondering, is she still part of the Church of Satan? She is not. So back in 1990, she decided to make her official exit from her father's church, and she renounced Satanism. Not to become Christian or anything, but just to kind of become a witch. Okay.
Literally.
Because it was basically a postmodernist movement that was essentially atheist, but also completely amorphous, and it defies all explanation.
Which is interesting because she says that a lot of the early Satanists were like Wicca.
What is that? Isn't that just witches?
Well,
okay, so in modern terminology, yes. Somebody who practices Wicca is going to call themselves a witch. They shouldn't. Witch, as a term, goes back to witcha, which is where Wicca comes from as well, and that meant a diviner, I believe, in Old English. And so it's specifically the practice, I think it was divination, was what a witch is. So you're not allowed to do divination, which is using magic to predict the future. That's what a witch was. So Wicca doesn't exist until the 1950s.
Okay.
Like Wicca is one guy Illuminati. Named, I think George Gardner was his name, who basically just wanted women to sleep with him, so he came up with a religion that would make them promiscuous, and then claimed that it was. Okay. This is my opinion. This is my opinion on his motivations.
A lot of cults do that, though.
Yeah, but then he
documented.
Yeah,
so
he goes and he's like, "Oh no, this is secret knowledge that's been preserved by a hidden coven of witches from ancient Celtic times," and it worked because in 1954 we knew jack shit about Celtic religion. Now that we do, it's very obvious he had no clue what he was talking about.
Okay.
So it's
Weren't they more or less pagans?
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
There are still members of the Church of Satan today, and if you ask any of them what they really believe, they will all say, "I'm just an atheist who believes in like freedom of thought and stuff like
and
that."
they,
Like you don't need to be a Satanist
Stuff and
to do that.
things, and you know that's not to be
too.
confused with actual Satan worship, which is theistic
Yeah.
in nature. But in this Vice interview they did back in 2012 with Zena LaVey, she described her father's version of Satanism as get what you can, live only in the here and now, care only about yourself, and get other people to care for you. It's like you're one
hedonism.
big infant.
Yeah, it's like just
So that-
hedonistic.
It is communism.
That reminds me of basically communism, but also the general attitude about life that celebrities tend to have. So it's not theistic in nature, but she renounced the Church of Satan essentially because she claims she was groomed into this position where she had to represent the religion and she had to defend them during the satanic panic of the late 80s and the early 90s. And she was constantly under threat. People shot at their house. There were constantly people, coming to harass them. And her dad was like, I don't know, deal with it. So she was like, okay, I'll take on this role to be your spokesperson or high priestess. And she left because she felt like she was raised in this toxic environment full of abuse. I think that is very much accurate because she actually disclosed in this interview that she was pregnant at age 13.
Super interestingly, though, it is very difficult to figure out who the father was.
Yeah, she did not give any further context. She just said that she was pregnant at age 13 and that she gave birth via C-section. I have no further knowledge about that child or who that child is or who the father is.
So
Very disturbing.
I fully believe that either her own father or one of his, henchmen.
Something
Yeah, because
really
if you look,
weird
if you think
like
about how
that, yeah.
insular this group was, someone in that group is who did this.
if their beliefs were more just like happy-go-lucky, carefree, live free, and they knew how people get just so turned off by the word Satan and Satanism, why did they choose to brand themselves that
It's
way?
an aesthetic. I mean, she said this
You
about
have
her
to
dad
know
that
what's, like,
he
maybe
just
not
wanted to
her,
be
but the
quirky.
dad.
He just wanted to be quirky. He had a pet lion that he would take around the streets of San Francisco.
That's kind of cool.
And her mom was just really into the Addams family, and it kind of snowballed out of their control. And after that, he didn't really want to answer for his actions. And clearly she was raised in an abusive household.
Right.
And I'm not saying, by the way, that her baby she was pregnant with at 13 is Taylor Swift.
No.
That doesn't even work out with the
Timing won't work.
timing. But clearly Taylor Swift has this huge preoccupation with having been born in 1989. She named her album 1989. She has a lucky number 13.
Well, if she grew up in there's a lot of people that protest when they grow up Christian, right? If that was Taylor and then she got access to the internet, went down this Xena rabbit hole, maybe that just inspired
She's like a
her.
skinwalker. But
No,
that doesn't,
just inspired how she dresses today and her
doesn't explain that uncanny resemblance, though. And I'm just saying,
maybe.
if Xena had been in a position at the time in the late 80s where she was wanting to get out and she didn't feel like she was able to leave the Church of Satan without being harassed by former members or current members, maybe she would have been asked to offer some kind of sacrifice, meaning a child sacrifice, and she might have been forced to have a child in 1989.
Who are Taylor's
And that child
parents?
would be Taylor Swift. I'm not saying I actually believe that this timeline of events is true, and there's actually zero evidence for it. I'm just saying the timing works out and the resemblance works out where that would make sense, and she has not
Are
disclosed
there
anything
videos
about
of
it.
Xena dancing? Because that's how we would know.
That is
Because
how we would
Taylor
know.
Swift has it's
The
her
bad dancing
signature, but it's
jeans.
unique to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
It's not just bad dancing; it's her own way to move.
They're both corny white women who are into witchcraft and manifestation, so.
I will say, I have a very hard time believing it just because I'm from this part of Pennsylvania.
Because you know the lore.
Because I know the lore. And I know people who grew up in Reading at the same time that she was still growing up in Reading, and there was never any question about where was she adopted, were her parents really her parents, was there an affair? None of that's ever come up.
But
So
she she may have been passed off to a family that could have been in a position to groom her into fame, which is essentially what her father did when he owned her record label at the time that she became famous.
Isn't JoJo Siwa also from Pennsylvania? So maybe
I hope not.
Oh, is she?
I think she is. So maybe she's the daughter.
This is like ground zero.
I mean, you've seen the way JoJo is behaving and dressing.
She's not.
She's from Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, is she?
Okay,
I thought she was from Pennsylvania.
She might have lived in PA.
Okay.
I don't know.
I could have sworn.
She's like way more off the rails than anything Taylor Swift ever did.
So then,
Pink is from Pennsylvania. Pink's from Allentown.
Pennsylvania they've got a lot of stars.
We have the 6th biggest city in the country. I don't know why everybody forgets about that.
Well,
it's not fair.
But they're not coming from Philly.
No, they're usually not.
So
they're usually coming from like Lansdale,
West PA,
Allentown,
right?
Pittsburgh, Reading.
Huh.
do you see like
Joe Biden's from PA?
He grew up in Delaware. We don't claim him.
do you
Grew up
see
in
like what
Delaware.
I'm getting at though? Like that this certain order of events is plausible.
That she was she was the daughter of the son of Satan, the
granddaughter of the founder of the Church of
Satan's
Satan,
and then passed off
who
to
was offered as a
Andrea.
sacrifice to Hollywood.
What if it's just like a
Andrea and Scott?
reincarnation? What if it's like a clone? Right, the aliens that we were talking about at the beginning of the show. What if they're just like they just have the model, the Taylor Swift model, and it was Xena. Then they released the new version. It's Taylor, right? And so what if like if we go even further back in time, we could probably find even more lookalikes.
Well, you were pointing out that what Hollywood does to people with looks, like it transforms people into that blonde eyelashes. So what do they really look like without makeup on?
Well, I mean, look at Taylor
side?
Swift's first album. What was that album called?
It was just self-titled.
It's just Taylor Swift's first. She looks drastic. Her hair is curly. It's long. Her face looks different. Yes, she was younger, but
yeah, that's the thing is if you look at adult Taylor Swift and adult Xena LaVey, they do have really similar facial structure.
Extremely.
It's weird. Like their noses match. The only thing I noticed that didn't seem like it matched was their chins. Like I think Xena's is wider, whereas Taylor's is more narrow.
Are there photos of Xena younger?
Yeah.
Have they been getting any face work done?
Oh, I'm
like
sure.
Plastic surgery?
I'm sure.
Has Taylor Swift got plastic surgery?
I would
done?
be surprised if Taylor Swift got plastic surgery already. She's only like 33.
Maybe fillers or like Botox.
Taylor is like one of the very, very few that it's difficult to tell if she's gotten anything done. But one thing I did assume she got done was a blepharoplasty, where they raise your eyebrows higher up on your face so that your eyelids are more visible. But you know, if you look at young pictures of her eyes are hooded. They're not anymore. But other than that, she pretty much looks.
And the goal of plastic surgery is to make it look like nothing was done. They've just,
hopefully, if it's done
lost,
right.
Thanks to the Kardashians, they've just lost the plot. But the original goal of plastic surgery is to look like you didn't get any work done, that you're just a beautiful person. So
then
like
the body ages.
Yeah,
it's hard. Well, plastic surgery doesn't.
I saw a video today of a plastic surgeon, and he was judging the Love Island stars of the UK, and he's guessing their age and the work that they got done. They all had work done, but he was off. Like he thought they were all like 20 years older than they were. They were all in their mid 20s. He's like, oh yeah, she's like 35. She's probably 42, and this is a professional plastic surgeon that was getting it wrong. So like. The look nowadays that Hollywood is promoting and plastic surgeons are promoting, it is a fake Barbie look. It's not the same as what I think it was
but
supposed
Taylor
to be.
Swift, like, assuming that she has aged naturally, she does still look like Xena. What's going on?
Xena LaVey in probably her late teens, early 20s.
Wait,
I'm going to send it to you on Twitter.
It kind of looks like young Taylor Swift.
It really looks like young Taylor Swift. I hate this.
If we can pull that up. Like, I'm just
deeper.
saying, if it weren't believable, I wouldn't be saying it. And the timing of it all, it's really suspicious.
And I just sent it over.
You know, I was joking with my alien model theory, but, you know, it's even more realistic, you know?
I'm mad now. I'm angry now.
If you pull it up,
You're angry? Why?
Because I was like so against it, and I'm like, oh come on, man, that looks exactly like her when she was a teenager. That looks exactly like her at that age. Did you find it?
Yeah, Kellen, I'm gonna send it to you real quick.
Okay.
So we can pull it up.
Yeah, that's boy.
There are like archetypes.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm not saying that it's not her daughter, but have you seen this? There's like archetypes of people. So maybe they're just a similar archetype.
Open up the link there.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Boom.
That's wild.
Let me get a side by side of Taylor Swift. And
Well,
then
I sent you a couple of YouTube shorts. One of them has several.
of both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
They intersperse the clips of Xena and the clips of Taylor Swift
So we've got
together.
the first one. I don't know what the title. This one just says Taylor Swift / Xena. So.
Any prominent stars today who are followers openly of the Church of Satan, such as these people were back in the 60s?
There are. Well, we believe in vengeance. We don't believe in turning the other cheek.
Never trust a narcissist.
If we instinctively feel that something's not right, we have to go by gut intuition.
I can feel the flames on my skin, crimson red paint on my lips. If a man talks shit, then I owe nothing.
Clearly stated in there how we feel about children and animals, and you know it.
It's there.
Can you
can't
try and
deny
find
it.
really quickly with that still up? Try and find a video of Taylor Swift talking. Just talking.
Okay. Yeah. I can do that.
There's one actually in the second YouTube short that I
Okay,
sent
yeah.
you
'Cause
where
I'm
she's
curious-
talking about witchcraft.
I'm curious if they have similar voices.
Yeah, well,
Possibly. Let's see.
The more I hear from Taylor Swift, the more serious I become about warning people to stay away. She references a demon in this video. See if you can catch it.
I say witchy, and I stand by that. It felt like somebody standing over a potion, making a love potion, dreaming up
Same
the
cadence.
person that they want and the person they desire, and trying to figure out how to get that person in their life. And all the kind of misdirection and bait and switch and complexity that goes into seeing someone, feeling a connection, wanting them, and trying to make them a part of your life. It's tactical at times. It's confusing at times. It's up to fate. It's magical.
It's called manifestation.
Weird.
That's how human beings actually make sense of it. It's we're manifesting, but it's something else. It's something else.
They're right. It is
so
something
there was
else.
a
It's
video of her
manipulative.
talking. Do you think their voices are similar?
Are there any prominent stars today who are followers openly of the Church of Satan, such as these people were back in the 60s?
There are.
Xena's is definitely deeper.
Yeah, but
it has
after
a very
all,
similar
recording
a very
technology.
similar airiness
Taylor
to
Swift has a sing-songy voice,
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily have the same voice as your parents or your
The things that I
clone.
noticed were the cadence and how they speak.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the kind of the lip smacking. It's
There's a
very
little bit.
similar.
I'm trying to figure
for
out how
sure.
tall Xena LeVay is.
And like you're right, you're gonna have different voices from your parents.
But again, we don't know who the father is. You know, that can factor in so much.
It can, yeah.
I'm saying if there is this mysterious father, I mean, was Taylor Swift some kind of postmodern homunculus? Like,
So Xena's definitely shorter
sure,
by 5 inches.
but you don't know what the height of the father
True.
is.
That narrows down the pool a bit though, because now we're looking for people who are like 6 to 6.5 feet tall to be the dad.
Yeah, well, her husband seems to be pretty tall. I'm not saying it is her husband, her
Listen,
ex-husband now.
If Travis,
Nicholas
this
Schreck.
might be a 20-year investigation we got going on, because if she has a baby with Travis Kelce, and that baby is a girl, and it comes out a mini Taylor Swift.
Oh,
I'm just saying if you were
or I should say a mini Xena.
if you were sacrificing or donating a baby to Hollywood as a satanic sacrifice, you would probably give it to the Merrill Lynch guy and his marketing specialist wife, who are going to put her in Nashville and own her her record label and put her on private jets at age 16.
I think oftentimes we look for an on-the-nose explanation, but if you like think of Hollywood and selling yourself as an entertainer, right? You admit and you acknowledge your childhood is gone. You're going to be trotted out in front of stages and audiences and crowds.
I'm sending it to you.
That is selling yourself to a demonic force. It doesn't have to be on the nose like blood sacrifice ritual. It's just the lifestyle that you were sacrificing what it means to be like most of your peers and what it means to be a child and grow up like these dance mom kids. I know full well what that life's going to be like.
It's a message hidden due to suspicious content. I just sent you
because
the
I sent you a
link.
Google link.
Okay.
It's from Religion Wiki. Let me
All right.
just go to the page
This is
itself.
about Xena's witchcraft.
Hang on. No, it's that's see on the right. Grab that.
This picture.
Yep.
Okay.
Look how tall he is.
That's,
Scroll down.
Yeah, that's her
Scroll down.
ex-husband,
Scroll
Nicholas Schreck.
She is wearing heels.
Does that say Star Wars?
Does it? I don't know.
It's probably from like 83.
But like, yeah.
She definitely has a fuller face in this photo, but again, different technology.
And
I mean,
and you can gain and lose weight.
Look at the Timcast IRL when we were in the studio, the old studio versus the new one now. Dude, the people you would think we had plastic surgery, and it's just the cameras.
Yep.
So, and now you're talking about decades of technological advancements.
By the way,
so you have to acknowledge that and consider
I've
it.
seen some videos of this guy, Nicholas Schreck, her
He seems, like,
ex-husband.
weird.
He does seem weird. It looks like he only has one ear. Maybe he donated or sacrificed his other ear.
It does look like he only has one. Yeah, that is very strange.
Which has some
Was he a wrestler?
musical symbolism. Okay, we have got a $20 from Dreamcast Night. No, guys, Taylor Swift is Taylor Hanson from the 90s group Hanson. That was an OG meme from early days of the internet.
Okay.
But that still puts him in the Satan group since Bop was from the 7th level of hell.
That's funny because isn't Taylor Hanson the reporter for Tenet? That's also his name.
I don't know.
Taylor Hanson, the redhead guy.
Yeah.
Spelled different, but
Look, I can see that you're getting increasingly perturbed at how
I'm getting
believable
very
this
perturbed
is.
at how believable this is.
Like, I'm just saying.
No,
you know,
like here's what you've done is now I'm gonna go back to Pennsylvania tomorrow and sometime
you're
not
going
this
to
week,
the
'cause
Christmas tree farm on which she was raised.
I am going to Reading. I am going to the Berks County Records Office and I am finding her birth certificate.
I need to know, but they would falsify it. You know, they would falsify the documents.
I don't know. Well, think about that because here's the thing. We're talking about just specifically the Church of Satan here. This is not the government we're dealing with. I don't know that the Church of Satan would have the power to falsify a federal, like a state document like a birth certificate and a federal thing like a social security number.
it could be. What if these are all just secret pregnancies using the same donor?
Look, she had one secret pregnancy already.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. Why would we find it so hard to believe there could be another?
No, but I'm saying like
at a different point
her
in her
mother.
adulthood.
What does her mother look like? Zena's.
I have her
I'm not
pulled
sure.
up somewhere here.
Like
She stepped back from the public eye at the same time that Anton LaVey did, but her name is Diane Haggerty.
Yeah, she's blonde, about the same height. Oh, and this blonde about the same height. It looks like.
Mm-hmm. But this says that by 13, Xena had been completely indoctrinated by the Church of Satan, received death threats regularly, and was pregnant. They said nothing else about that pregnancy, but all I could find out is that, she did give birth via C-section, and that was it. So, if you can have one secret pregnancy and nothing is known about that child, you can have a second and give that child away to an industry that wants to eat its soul.
Is this her?
Do you want to pull that up?
Probably. Yeah, it looks like it.
Let's take a look.
Because it looks like Taylor Swift. Oh.
That's her grandmother.
Look up Taylor Swift's mom.
This is Taylor Swift's mom. Admittedly, does look like her.
Well, I mean, if you were gonna do something like this and try to pass off as you're a kid, then you would obviously look for a family that looks like yours.
Right.
Yes. I would maybe we get them both to do like an Ancestry.com. Maybe they share a common grandmother or something.
The Kardashians aren't even willing to tell us if Khloe is O.J. Simpson's daughter. Do you think we're really gonna find out the truth? Doubt it.
Dude, this is what investigative journalism is all about.
This is what we're doing. We're doing investigative journalism right now.
Oh, why is this all getting so weird?
I know.
The plot thickens.
Because Marjorie Finley looks a lot like Diana Haggerty.
Who's Marjorie Finley?
Taylor Swift's grandmother.
Ooh.
Look her up. Look up Marjorie Finley.
Maybe they have a
She'll come
common
up.
ancestor.
We're gonna have to call it soon though, because I have to get through these super chats, and we're almost
And
at
I have to get to
5,
Timcast.
and you have to get to Timcast.
Marjorie, what's her name?
Finley.
Finlay.
Well, these are all Irish names too, right? So
Swift, Finley, not LaVey, but
Haggerty.
Haggerty. Yeah.
Where's LaVey from?
I don't think LaVey is LaVey real?
I don't know if that's even his real government name.
Yeah, that's
but...
what I was wondering about. Anton, I'm gonna look it up. Anton LaVey.
That's got to be what it is. I mean, if we looked back at like Ellis Island, I guarantee there's a common ancestor here. It's got to be something like that.
They have to have. They do have to. I can't see that being a coincidence.
Yay, we got Aidan to actually admit that something might be
No,
a
we'll say
conspiracy?
They might have a connection.
She's not a blonde though. She is a brunette.
She's a brunette, yeah.
So,
Okay.
something to
But
consider.
Taylor Swift's parents are her
So
daughter,
that's-
or her son. I don't know which one. Her daughter, I guess, is blonde.
That's who we publicly know as Taylor Swift's grandmother.
Yes.
Got it.
Hang on. Early life. Yeah, he was born Howard Stanton LeVay.
All right.
But LeVay was spelled Levey, which surname origin LeVay short surname United Kingdom and Ireland.
We're seeing
This
we're
is killing
seeing
me.
the connections.
This is killing me.
I love this because I didn't think it was going to go this deep, but the more I read into
I know.
it,
I didn't think either.
There
the more
is-
it made sense.
So here's
I'm-
the thing. There's two possible ones, and I
right.
hate this. One's English. It's Levy. So it could also be Ireland because you would have
Mm-hmm.
people in Ireland with that name. The other is that it might come from Levi,
Okay.
which is Jewish. So this is just I hate how many conspiracy angles you can take on this. This is horrible.
Well, we'll leave that for the audience to decide, but
humans
we've
are
got
gonna
to get
human.
into these super chats and then wrap up the show. Brewmaster Monk said, "Yo, Ian, have you looked into hemp?
Yeah, many times.
What do you think?" It's Ian.
I like hemp a lot.
Okay, Maverick Pilgrim said, "Anyone reference Dr. Michael Heiser's works yet or discuss Walking Among Us by Jacobs?"
Negative.
Not familiar.
What was the question?
Dr. Michael Heiser's works, Walking Among Us by Jacobs?
Haven't read that one, but Heiser's awesome.
Wesley has told me a lot about that, but
genuinely
I barely
awesome
scratched the surface.
Old Testament scholar.
T-Dog said, "How much dirt do the Democrats have on celebrities?" Probably none.
I wouldn't like. I hate the questions phrased in a political sense because it's just like, how much dirt does the controlling force in a country have on its stars, its popular figures? It's probably the answer is probably always a lot.
But if you're talking like the Democrats, like the
Like
reps
who?
in Congress, those people are pretty mute. They're pretty powerless. They don't really have a lot of data.
Yeah,
They're
I-
kind of like cogs.
I also feel like people have this idea that if a celebrity does something, it has to be because they were like if a celebrity does something weird, it has to be because they were forced to. Celebrities are not known for their intelligence. These are not people who are famous because they're smart.
That's what I
They're
said
not known
earlier.
for being particularly predictable or
famous
stable.
does not equal
and some-
intelligent.
And some of them are intelligent. I'm not here to say that no celebrities are smart. I think Rivers Cuomo of Weezer and I cannot remember the lead singer of The Offspring, but both of them have genius IQs. If you'll notice, they're also not really involved in Hollywood. But you know, the average Hollywood star is probably just like the average American. So they're going to believe a lot of the same stuff as the average American unless they have access to some information that proves it to be false.
And I will go ahead. Ian.
That a lot of people that are famous aren't necessarily celebrities. They're not being celebrated because they might be well
a good
known,
point.
but they're not well liked.
Yeah, like Kurt Costner's, Kevin Costner is one that comes to mind. I was in Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner. Like, they're famous, they're Hollywood actors. They don't really give off celebrity vibes.
Sure. The Ninja from Pop Culture Planet said, "I've always assumed we were 3D beings on a 4D plane having a 2D perspective. The series finale of Space Dandy is the best way I could explain it."
Okay.
I'm not sure how to interpret
I
any of
understand what
that.
he's saying. It's just kind of, acknowledging ignorance.
Okay.
I think existential ignorance, I think, is what he means.
The Manic Mustache said, "I'm not pumpernickeled enough for this show. I'm working so edibles are not an option."
That's what I read earlier.
Pumpernickeled. I like that one.
Mothman's accountant said, "As an evil time wizard myself, I can confirm that goblins are the biggest ops."
Really.
Evil time wizard myself.
But if there were a time wizard that actually came back, would anyone believe him?
Today? Yeah.
That's a tough
I think a
one.
whole bunch
I'd
of
have to
people
meet him.
probably would, and he would have to provide no evidence.
Okay, good point. Sermico Productions said, "Wasn't there a story recently about the lady who smoked weed and then stabbed her boyfriend to death?"
I don't know.
There was a lot of propaganda
Ah.
when Colorado first legalized where they tried to attribute certain crimes and stuff to the fact that marijuana was in their system. Because did someone
I think it should be taken into account.
If someone was at a bar and had one beer, would you blame the alcohol for
because
him doing something
Yeah.
illegal?
A side effect of marijuana, especially if you're doing edibles that are high dosages, is paranoia.
Sure.
Okay, so like it should be taken into
And if
account.
you're already a paranoid person, it could make things worse.
Yeah.
DCNC said thoughts and prayers for Brett's hormone injections today. # safe transitioning. No, he's getting the leg lengthening surgery.
Wait a
okay?
second.
He's transitioning
He has
into a new
long
height.
recovery ahead of
If
him.
Brett said that no women will ever host the show, what is he supposed to do? I'm sorry, what is she supposed to do when she returns? Listen, it's quite the conundrum.
Okay.
Well, I
I
already
will
broke
say
the glass ceiling.
It
so.
would be the funniest thing if you guys could somehow get Brett Cooper here
Oh, that would be
That would
funny.
be
for the
funny.
first show when he's supposed to be back. It would be so funny.
I'm Brett. What's up, guys?
Double Brett.
Yeah.
Brettception. DCNC.
And then but like have it be like the first 20 minutes, and then have Brett walk in and be like, "Wait, what?"
we got a new Brett. DCNC said, Aidan, your Killdozer doc was epic. Nice one, bruv.
Thank you.
You did a whole documentary on that guy?
Yeah, it was from my studio, but we did the whole story from like him moving to Boulder, Colorado, up through what he did, and then we analyzed to like, all right, what's the narrative say, and what does the evidence actually support? And color me shocked. The narrative does not have any support from the evidence. It is.
Did you ever do research into JonBenet Ramsey?
That is going to be
Since you
our.
mentioned Boulder.
This is going to sound really bad. That's going to be our Christmas video this year.
Oh,
Because it happened
well,
on
that's
Christmas.
fitting.
Yeah. So last year, our Christmas video
Okay.
was about the Sodder children who went missing basically down the road in West Virginia in 1945, and it tanked.
Okay. Well, we did a video on the channel about the theory that JonBenet Ramsey never existed and that her father actually created her with AI that was like technology available to the government, but was not, available to the public yet.
It's one of the alien models I'm talking about.
You should watch that video, actually, and I'll send you the thread because some people genuinely think that all images of JonBenet Ramsey were used to test AI faces on the public before that technology was like mid-journey. You can just do it on your computer now.
It was 1991, right?
Yes, and then some people believe that technology already existed.
I need to introduce these people to Ashton Forbes. And I need to have them go at it because it would be the funniest thing ever to watch him argue with people who think that VFX
There
was
were
that
some
advanced in
sketchy
1991.
things about like her death certificate and the record keeping. It was, I don't know. I don't remember the details exactly,
Yeah.
but
I haven't gone into it too deeply yet. But my understanding was that the reason for the weirdness might have been that the parents were trying to cover up what really happened.
maybe.
Like-
Yes. Yeah.
Going on your Ashton Forbes comment, we're at the point now, though, that if footage looks too real, we just cast it aside as AI deepfake. Like, we've crossed the Rubicon in that regard. That, like any kind of government
Maybe
release...
this is what Discordianism wanted all along.
Yeah, like...
My job is becoming considerably more difficult.
Yeah.
Like I have to use like newspapers.com archives. I can't
Really?
just grab something off Google Images anymore.
Yeah.
I have to go to newspaper.com. I have to screenshot it.
Even the big media corporate, like the corporate media who you're supposed to trust, right? They're getting fooled and duped by like AI and jokes on the internet they don't understand and stuff. So what a time! What a time to be
I don't
alive.
like it.
DCNC asked Ian your thoughts on Terrence Howard.
Oh, God, I was going to bring him up earlier. Well, my first thought was, I can't stand this guy. Ignore him. But that's usually override that initial thought. There's probably something to what he's talking about.
On the Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I saw him on Rogan a little bit, like for a half hour, when he was talking about visualizing the periodic chart, not as a linear thing, but as like a spiral where like certain elements on one part of the chart might actually be interacting with other elements in different areas of the chart non-linearly. So that was cool to visualize, like a spiraling chart.
I really got lost listening to that explanation. Do you think Carbon is actually bisexual?
Whoa.
That was weird when he kept
okay.
talking about the tone of elements. I think he was talking about resonating frequency, but he kept calling it tone. That was very confusing. So,
Okay.
no, I don't think Carbon fucks both sexes. I don't know why he kept calling it bisexual.
I don't know. I'm just as clueless as you are.
Because it'll interact with like two things of different charges, maybe. I'm not sure, but I
He's
didn't
been
follow.
on this for at least a decade, though. Like, he's been talking about these things for a while, and he claims to have education that he doesn't have.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
If he's lying about
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if he's lying
well-
or if he thinks he's telling the truth.
Have you read Terrence Howard's proof that 2 + 2 = 5 or something like that?
No.
No, he literally, he thinks that this something about the square root of 2 has to be 1, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's a prime number. So You're
gonna
gonna
do
give us a
something right
math
now,
lesson?
right. So this is 2.
Yeah.
And this is 2. We can all agree these are
Yes.
2 and 2, correct for the audience.
Even though they're $20 bills, yes.
They're $20 bills, right? The 2, right? I want to meet. There's no extra dollar bills here, right? 2. All right, we're gonna do something really cool. We're gonna take 2 of them. Just put them together. Oh my God, it's 4. I have just proved that 2 plus 2 equals 4.
Yeah, but
He thinks that 1 times 1 equals 1
I've
is
seen-
not a valid
I've
equation.
seen the dumb thing where they'll take, so you've got 4 boxes. So you have 2 boxes and 2 boxes, and you put them together, so it should be 4 boxes. But those 4 boxes also create 1 big box, so it's 5.
Maverick Pilgrim said walk-ins are group invitational
Yes.
demonic possession.
That was one of them. The other one that I looked it up afterwards. It was the belief that a soul that has been departed from one body can just enter into another one that's lacking it.
Interesting.
Okay.
There are 2 different. There's like a new age and a demonic.
Would that explain NPC stuff and trends?
You could go there.
The Felicer, I don't know if
You
I'm
could
saying that,
say.
Felicer said a walk-in refers to a discarnate spirit taking over a body during a near-death experience. The soul leaves the body and a
that's
nearby
weird.
spirit walks in.
That's weird. It's like when you wake up out of a coma and you're speaking a different language. Huh.
Don't know what to make of that. Sorenko Productions said Taylor is just Valley Girl Xena. It's basic
Yeah.
white girl Xena
Yeah.
without all the pentagrams and edgy stuff.
It's
and the crystals.
modernized.
Shane H. Wilder said, what? No Sorenko saying Swift is the Antichrist? Well, I don't think Taylor Swift is the Antichrist, to be clear. But, that was the obligatory mention.
I think she's just a pop musician who has a lot of money,
Who might be the daughter of Xena LaVey.
who might be the daughter of Xena LaVey, somehow.
Yeah. Sorenko Productions said, speaking about hiding identities, thoughts on Brigitte Macron actually being a dude, and more specifically, her brother. I, for one, am convinced. LOL.
Wasn't Candace supposed to do some investigation? I'm still
I
waiting.
think she's still planning to interview the journalists who did that.
I'm still waiting on the
report.
results.
My favorite was that she went on Piers Morgan, and I don't even like Piers Morgan. She goes on Piers Morgan, and he's like, so what's the evidence for this? And she's like, why are you asking me, Piers? And it's like, because that's why you're on the show right now, Candace.
Yeah.
And she's like, you can go and look at the work of the journalist who spent 3 years on it. And I'm like, okay, but if you can't explain it, that means that you don't understand it, which means you shouldn't be talking about it. So pipe down, Candace.
maybe not that she shouldn't be talking about it, but this confidence that she has
Yes.
is unwarranted.
But that's what I mean. Is like at the dinner table, at the bar with her friends, going to get coffee. Sure, yeah, talk about it there. Do not go on national television and tell people that you know for a fact that Brigitte Macron is a
It's
man.
the fact part.
That's what I mean. Even with my videos, even if I'm like 99% sure of something, I'll still say like appeared to be or the evidence suggested.
Yep.
Sure. She is definitely
I hear ya.
a creep, though.
Yeah.
A PDF file.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's definitely a pedophile.
So that's already confirmed.
Or I guess not pedophile. It's weird because pedophiles are typically like preferential offenders, which means that when somebody ages out, they'll stop going after them. So it's like, what is going on here? It seems more like a narcissism issue to me.
I don't know.
Like maybe
I don't want to psychoanalyze it too much. But
Sorry, I'm watching too much Criminal Minds.
Not that Jon Stewart said somewhere a certain Polish man is screaming into the void, "What are you doing to my show?"
Sorry, Brett.
He's Polish?
He's like
Dasovic sounds
Slavic.
Polish.
Yeah, he's like vaguely Slavic.
I thought it was like going to be a comment about Luke.
No.
Slavic thing.
Shane H. Wilder said, short of Mary reacting to mad celeb stans tomorrow.
What?
Shout out, maybe? Maybe they just got typed wrong.
Oh, like a YouTube short, not a. Yeah.
The short's out tomorrow.
Are the stans mad at me again?
Every day.
Because I said that
For
Lana
what?
is skinny.
Lana Del Rey?
Yeah, she got skinny again.
Can I, since
saw
we
that.
were talking about Taylor Swift, can I really quickly make a point that Tortured Poets Department is just a soulless Lana Del Rey album?
Yes, you can make that point because it's true.
Every song just sounds like
It's completely true.
like a bad Lana Del Rey song.
Well, she has the same producer that, she basically poached Lana's producer.
And did Lana not help her write the previous album?
Yes.
Who are you talking about?
Yes.
Taylor Swift's music, her newest album, Tortured Poets Department, sounds exactly like a Lana Del Rey album, but her voice is not interesting enough
She will
for
never
that
have
kind
the
of
depth.
music.
Maybe Tortured Poet is really just to let us know that it's like a tortured prayer, and it's Xena. Like
No,
that's how she's like letting us know the connection
Secret
exists.
messaging to
Yeah.
us.
I think that it's just a ripoff of Dead Poet Society that she was hoping nobody would notice.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are accidentally calling it Dead Poet Society without
Which
realizing.
is sad because Dead Poet Society is a great piece of cinema and the
It
album is
is.
garbage.
I do love that movie. Shane H. Wilder said, also, I thought Brett went to get a BBL. A Brazilian Brett
We're
lift.
not really sure. For Christmas, we got him a gift card. It's kind of like the Amazon or the American Express Black Card. There's no limit, but it's only for this one clinic. So whatever he gets done there is up to Brett. So it's kind of like a wild card. But he's, I don't know. It could be longer legs. It could be one longer leg and a BBL.
I'm going with the Zelensky interview. Maybe he's doubling
the
up.
body doubles of
Yeah.
Zelensky.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be honest. I would not be shocked if Zelensky has body doubles. That makes sense for the president of a country that's at war.
Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
People.
Putin probably
People like
has them.
Every
Jeff Bezos,
leader.
their security guards wear fake arms.
Yeah, so they can carry
So
submachine
weird.
guns.
Really?
You can tell they're just totally
Yeah.
lifeless.
If you look at them, they got the fake arms that are like out here,
Yeah.
they'll be crossed in front or crossed behind, and then under their jacket they'll have an MP5.
Right. Exactly.
That's cool.
That's how Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos
And he's
At least
gets
for the
to go to
feds.
Starbucks.
The Secret Service does it that way. I don't know about
And
like bodyguards.
It's legal because he's on that. It's like the super yacht, so he's in international waters, right? So
Yeah, if he's out there.
All right, I think
It
we're
should be
all
legal.
yeah.
we're all caught up on super chats, so it's time to wrap up. I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel once again if you have not already. And you should like the video. If you haven't liked the video, I'm mad at you. You should change that immediately. And another reminder that Brett is going to be back on the show on Wednesday. Things will be back to normal, I promise. Please don't start convulsing and dry heaving about it. I know Brett is. Anyway, Ian, can you let us know where everyone can find you?
Yeah, at Ian Crossland on the internet, anywhere, social media. IanCrossland.net will get you through to a bunch of my social media networks. Thanks for asking.
I like that you kept the sunglasses on for the entire time. I was worried you wouldn't make it.
I did it.
Yeah, there's bright lights in here. Anyway, Aidan,
Great.
Yeah.
you have anything to shout out, please?
Sure, yeah. I'm Aidan Mattis. I'm the host of The Lore Lodge here on YouTube, as well as The Weird Bible that I do with Wendigoon. And then also I have my own personal channel called Aidan Mattis, where I stream video games and commentary and that kind of thing. You can
All
find me
right.
there.
How about you, Kellen?
You guys can follow me at Kellen PDL. I think as Brett leaves, like the shows are getting they're getting better, right? I think this was the most normal.
I don't know that that's exactly how you wanted
That's not
to
how
say
I meant
it.
it.
If I
My
left and someone said that
performance-
about me, I would be on the warpath.
Listen, I'm just saying, when we had Shane and Ian Carroll, it was a wild episode, but
It
this
was.
one came much more back to pop culture,
Yeah.
like the feel. Thank you, Ian, for stepping up today and being Shane Cashman, the fill-in.
That's why I'm.
We really
made for
appreciate
this.
it.
And-
Genuinely, it was a
Yeah.
crisis.
And Aiden, it was a pleasure
Pop
meeting
culture
you.
crisis.
I'll be back
Follow
tomorrow.
me at Kellen
Yeah.
PDL, guys.
Yeah, and you guys can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. And you can follow the show on social media. Our Instagram is Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We don't have a TikTok because we were banned, but our Facebook is Pop Culture Crisis. And our X is Pop Culture _show. And until tomorrow, we'll see you again tomorrow.
Bye, guys.